Hello and welcome to the decisive final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under. 2 years out this race and it's back with a bang this year and kicking off this year's Men's UCI World Tour 2. My name's Jez Cox and as I have been since Tuesday, I am on the mic alongside Adam Blythe and we're going to be bringing you the beautiful South Australian sunshine, which has intensified, grown in temperature and warmth and, well, bright light since that rainy prologue in Adelaide itself way back on Tuesday when Alberto Bettiol took the win. These are the shots looking down on the central business district where that prologue was alongside the Torrens River back on Tuesday. And so much has happened since then, that jersey being passed on to Rowan Dennis, then being passed on to Jay Vine. And Jay Vine still holds that jersey, but with just a very slender 15-second lead. We'll come back to that in just a moment. This is the course today, going right back out into the Adelaide Hills and taking in a route that Stuart O'Grady, the race director, had been waiting 2 years to bring to this race. The first ever raced ascent of Mount Lofty, which is where the race will finish. We take that climb in 5 times on this 27k lap. 2 of those times it's classified as a first category mountain climb. And on one of them, of course, we have the finish, where this race will be decided. 6 days of racing, 5 road stages and 1 prologue, has brought us to this point. Jay Vine, the Australian up-and-coming sensation, leads by 15 seconds over both Simon Yates and Pello Bilbao. Those 3, of course, were the breakaway that went to contest the finish of Stage 3 in Campbelltown, where Jay Vine kicked off the attacking late on that time, taking Bilbao and Yates with him on the corkscrew. That finish has shaped the general classification. There's a bigger gap back to Magnus Sheffield, back 45 seconds back off Jay Vine, and these were the shots of the riders signing on in Unley just a few moments ago, because we're going to be bringing, those of you who are watching this live, we're going to be bringing you the whole thing from gun to tape. These shots were, as I say, just in the last few minutes. The riders signing on in the sunshine, in the inner south suburb of Adelaide, that is Unley. You can see the long straight road that leads away from the central business district and the caravan, the race caravan and all the vehicles ready to go as the riders ready themselves behind that gantry. Adam, it's been a brilliant week of racing, hasn't it? The weather's now properly Australian for this time of year. This is a lot more like it. This is going to be a really interesting final stage, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it.
Yes, indeed. This is going to be a big one. Sorry, I was on mute there. Yeah, it is going to be a good one. Everything to throw at it for the riders that have still not got anything out of this race. So, yeah, it's going to be fast and furious, and it is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
We're looking there at the riders on the start line, and one of them has got a big smile on his face in the colours of Cofidis. That is Brian Coquard, the 30-year-old, who yesterday got the biggest win of his pretty illustrious career. It was his 49th win of his pro career since he turned pro with Europcar back in 2013. But that was his first World Tour win, and he was quite emotional at the finish yesterday. Looking back through his results as I was last night, Adam, I thought I'd drill back. I thought, well, 49 wins, that's an awful lot. And if you look back, he's been incredibly successful in France, particularly in one-week stage races, of which there are a lot, of course, on the French Cup circuit. But if you look at the results, so many of them have come in uphill finishes. He is something of an uphill sprinty specialist, and he dropped them yesterday. I know he went early, and maybe it was a surprise to some of the others, but that was a very dominant sprint victory yesterday, wasn't it? Very impressive.
Very, very impressive indeed. I was, we were expecting him to be good, but not quite that good. He literally blew the competition out of the water. It was brilliant to see. But yeah, and also for Brian himself to get his first World Tour win. But they are about to get off. Mayor Michael Hamilton, the city of Unley, is going to get them going. You can listen to the countdown in the background.
David Mackenzie on the mic in the background, as he has been all week. Giro stage winner, of course, himself. 2 and 1. 112.5 kilometres to sort out just 15 seconds that separate the top 3 riders. However, that's me talking about the top 3 riders. There may well be others who come into play here, because this is going to be climbing straight out of the doors. We're neutralised at the moment, of course, but the riders pressing right up behind the lead vehicle there that will have Stuart O'Grady, no doubt, sticking out of the top of it, ready to drop the flag. And I think this could be a really aggressive start, Adam. We were talking about this before we came on air. Let me remind viewers particularly because one of those leading three riders, the riders battling for the lead, Simon Yates, who's in second place, similar kind of stage to this at the Giro, stage 14 last year. It had an electric, hard, fast start, and he went on to take the win of that stage too. And it was one that, looking at the profile, just like today, Adam, has literally no flat. I can't see any flat at all. It's up and down the whole time.
It is definitely up and down the whole time, which is going to make it absolutely thrilling for us. That, oh, I'm just trying to listen into what they're saying. It's always interesting when you can hear the chats at the start of the race, but those smiles are going to be wiped off their faces rather quickly, I think, when they get to the start, because the first 5-6k or so is uphill, not too steep, but it's well, the first 9k is uphill, a little bit more than that, but it is going to definitely hurt, and it's going to light our race up right from the start and give us some great entertainment. Let's see what this man can do. Luke Plapp set his teammates up, Magnus Sheffield and Ethan Hayter, currently sat 4th and 6th, Sheffield on 45 seconds and Hayter on 50. I'd like to see them two work together to at least try and get one of them on the podium. It's a big ask, but I've got to try.
Well, if you are just joining us today, I appreciate lots of cycling fans share or sort of save their televisual viewing for the weekend and maybe Sundays as well. If you haven't joined us all week, I'll give you a very, very quick run through of what's happened so far to bring us to this point. As I say, the prologue was blighted by rain in the long mid-section of it. A few riders went off in the dry to begin with, and one of them was Alberto Bettiol of EF Education Easy Post. And not just because it was dry, but also because he's on very good form. He took the win, took over the Oka leader's jersey. There he is, as I talk of him. He was also very good yesterday in second, also sprinting clear with Brion Coquard. Anyway, the first road stage in the Barossa region into Tanunda was where Phil Bauhaus, the big German, opened up his long early sprint and took the win there ahead of Caleb Ewan. The next day we had the tough undulating stage, which took us into Victor Harbour. And on the final climb that day, Rowan Dennis, Jay Vine, Mauro Schmidt, Simon Yates and Jai Hindley, who we've not spoken of much over the last day or so, took off together. They took off, and in the end by the line, they only had about 5 seconds over a sprinting Caleb Ewan, who we're looking at right now. But it was enough to give Rowan Dennis the lead, as he'd out-jumped them and won the stage. So Rowan Dennis took over the Oka leader's jersey in Victor Harbour for stage 2 on Thursday. Friday was when we took in the corkscrew, which was the climb we were all looking forward to. It's the hardest climb by steepness in this year's race, and once again going over the top, it was Jay Vine who kicked things off, the Australian. This time though, he only took with him Simon Yates, again as he had done 2 days before, but he took with him Peo Bilbao, who descended well, having bridged across to them, and then opened up his sprint and took the win. Jay Vine though hung on to the lead. And that was going into yesterday's Willunga stage, not the normal Willunga Hill stage, but into Willunga Township and the drag up to the finish. We turned a sweeping right onto that finish yesterday, and Brion Coquard, the Frenchman for Cofidis, was sat in about third wheel. Looked quite a long way up the group, but the reason he was so far up the group because he was planning to go early, and that's exactly what he did. Gapped the rest of them. The only person who could close to get anywhere near him in the end was Alberto Bettiol, our erstwhile race leader, and that's how it ended. Brion Coquard getting the biggest win of his career, and Jay Vine maintaining that lead. The only difference being that now Yates and Bilbao were both on exactly the same time. Simon Yates had made up a second, and so that's how we are today. Simon Yates of Team Jayco Alula, the British rider, and Peo Bilbao, the Spaniard for Bahrain Victorious, those two sit both on 15 seconds down on Jay Vine. And these are pretty standard time gaps, aren't they, for the Tour Down Under, Adam, which is never really separated. The top 10 is rarely ever more spread than about a minute or so between those riders.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I think that stage up the corkscrew was the attack there that Jay Vine made just really opened the race up and set those riders in good contention to try and win. You know, he's still back 15 seconds down, but there's a couple of bonus sprints out there today. One just after the top of this first climb that is 9 kilometres long at an average of 4%. They do drop down after that, so bonus points are going to be wanted to be taken, which is going to lend us to an even faster start. So we're in for a real treat today.
Yeah, let's just go through those.
Listening to. Sorry, go on. You carry on.
I tell you what, we'll be quiet and see if we can hear what they're chatting about.
which flight you got home, what business seat are you in. I'm in 1D.
There we go. There's an awful lot to come before they're flying home, despite the fact this stage is only, he says, 112.5 kilometres. There is a lot of climbing. It has the most climbing of any of the stages, 3,131 metres, and it climbs to the high point too as well. We talk about Corkscrew as being the hardest climb, and I don't think there's anyone that would disagree with that. But bear in mind, Mount Lofty hasn't been taken in racing in the Tour Down Under, and Stuart O'Grady has now had to wait 2 years to bring it to this race. He talked about it before the pandemic. When he first took over as race director, he talked about wanting to bring Mount Lofty and the Basket Range Road and a few other places that he wanted to bring to his edition as race director of the Tour Down Under. But he's had to wait until now to do just that. And well, we're going to see it unfold today. They climb up to the high point of 710 metres of elevation. I won't get another chance to read this out, Adam, so I'm going to just read a little bit about Mount Lofty from the guidebook as we look at a former winner in Luis Leon Sanchez, one of the oldest men in the race. Let me read it out word for word, it's pretty good. Mount Lofty was named by Matthew Flinders during the first detailed British exploration in March 1802. He and 2 associates made the first European ascent of Mount Lofty, and the climb of Mount Lofty summit is now completed regularly by fitness-savvy members of the community, with the most popular trail being the Waterfall Gully Road, a 7.8 kilometre, approximately 3-hour return walk. And the summit is over 710 metres above sea level and provides panoramic views over Adelaide as far as Kangaroo Island and York Peninsula on clear days like this. So it's going to be a wonderful time to be up there. We anticipate there being a big crowd because they'll see 2 mountains points and, of course, the deciding finale of this race. It's going to be a cracking place to watch. Still neutralised right now. Luke Plapp looks ready to get involved. He was involved at the very beginning. In fact, I think on the first road stage, we thought he might be doing a bit too much. Certainly I did, Adam. He was trying to get involved with everything. He was going for mountain points. He was out in the wind a lot. Just the fact that he's up there right now, it might indicate some intent, maybe.
Yeah, he's going to... I think most of the teams today are going to want to throw everything out. It's a short stage as well today, 112 kilometres, sorry. So it is going to be... It is going to be fast and furious, and for a lot of the riders, they want to throw everything at it, as we've spoke about already. So it's going to be an interesting one. The rider there, Bahrain Victorious rider, if you're wondering what he's doing, he's just stopping in the neutral zone for a quick wee before the racing gets underway, because there is not going to be a lot of time in today's stage, I don't think, for a nature break.
Well, we're watching a former Paris-Roubaix winner in Stuart O'Grady, who is sticking his head out of the roof and talking to some of the riders as well as they go, having a bit of a laugh en route. He'll be sighing a sigh of relief this evening when the race is concluded, of course, all safely and, well, successfully. It's been a great week of racing. Talking of Paris-Roubaix winners, though, Matt Hayman has been speaking overnight, the DS for Jayco Alula, about Simon Yates's opportunities today to try and take advantage and see if he can get that race lead. His words, I'll quote them directly, as reported on the Tinterweb last night. "We didn't come here to get second or third," he said. "Yates is ready." Simple as that. So they're setting out their intent today to try and mix things up. It was in interesting contrast, and I know we can't read too much into these things because they're talking to the press anyway, Adam, so we have to read into it what we can. Neil Stevens, the DS at Bahrain Victorious, Pale Bilbao's director, of course, said this: perhaps not. Perhaps being asked whether they can stir things up and try and take the lead, perhaps not. I tend to think it's basically impossible if you look at it realistically. We're racing for the podium, whether it be second or third, I'm not too sure. Which is like either wonderful mind games or maybe he's being truthful. I don't know. He did actually go on to say at the end of that interview, well, we'll aspire to do it. We'll try and catch him out, talking about Jay Vine, so we will see. Vine himself was also interviewed last night, and he described it in a way that sometimes, Adam, I don't know what you feel. I am quite a bit older than you, and I always prefer to hear riders.
Double my age, aren't you, Jez?
Well, you know. Listen, you're getting on a bit. You're getting on a bit as well, mate. Don't. Hey, we're all growing up.
I'm not. I'm still a spring chicken. I am, Jez.
Let me point out to you that we are growing old at exactly the same rate. Think about it. I'll move on. Mount Lofty. This is Jay Vine last night. This is what I mean, right? Mount Lofty is a 6 watts per kilo effort. Now that, to me, you know, as somebody who grew up,
An old man.
Well, I mean, an old man. It's like I find, yeah, right. I find there's a little part of me that dies inside when I read that, because we should be talking about how, you know, he needs to find the vocabulary to explain how hard the climb feels, what it feels like. But he's describing it as a 6 watts per kilo effort, which I'm sorry, but I really find that hard.
Yeah, basically it's a lot of power.
Yeah. No, I didn't just mean, yes, it's hard. I mean the way it's obviously, like all of these riders, numbers are so important, and watts per kilo is an absolutely critical measure. Of course it is. But I was kind of hoping he would go, it's a crazy hard climb where it gets steep. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'll carry on with what he said. Mount Lofty is a 6 watts per kilo effort, but not long enough for people to get away. I should be okay, but anything can happen tomorrow.
Should be okay, but bike racing. You don't know how you're going to feel in the morning. You don't know how you feel in the race. You don't know what might happen. Fingers crossed for him, though. He's done absolutely brilliant this race, and he's really lit it up as well. The 2 attacks that, you know, he got away in, that stage that Rowan Dennis won down to Victor Harbour, and then the corkscrew where he got third on. He was the antagonist for both those attacks. It's been brilliant to watch him this week.
It will be fascinating to see the build-up to the Giro d'Italia, and also what happens when he goes to the Giro d'Italia. I believe the team are saying at the moment that he'll be going there in a support role, or at least a kind of co-leader role, with João Almeida. Now, that in itself will be fascinating as well. I think the two of them going there together. Quite different riders, of course. Almeida's more likely to take in the big climbs in the Giro more sort of steadily, and he's got a real kind of diesel climbing style to him. And that might be, again, I guess it goes to depends what kind of form Vine comes to the Giro in, but they could be a fascinating duo, those two. One to watch for sure.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, and we are waiting for this to kick off. I didn't think the neutral zone was quite as long as this, but we're going along the long straight road that takes us to the Devil's Elbow. Riding away from the Sharks of yesterday.
They'll be fairly chuffed that the neutral's this long, because they get to go up this climb for a little bit long before it actually officially starts.
Once they've gone over and through the Devil's Elbow and along the Valley Road, they actually join Mount Lofty about a third of the way up it. So they do climb Lofty 5 times, but the first time they're climbing it from a slightly different direction. Geraint Thomas has had a bit of a rough old week. He did admit quite openly that he'd come here with a bit of an infection, was feeling below par, and actually, Adam, I just don't think Ineos Grenadiers have been quite as impressive. But bearing in mind the names they have in their team, and I'm mentioning Geraint Thomas, of course, he's a former Tour de France winner. Bearing in mind the pedigree they have, it's not been a stellar week yet, has it?
Yet, yeah, let's write off Geraint out of that equation, because, as he said, he's had an infection and he has been sick, and he's got bigger fish to fry in the Giro d'Italia this year. Just to get his racing season underway, he's managed to get through it. The other riders, there's a couple of them in a support role, and then I'd say 2-3 leaders, 2 clear ones, Magnus Sheffield and Ethan Hayter, as we've discussed, sitting 4th and 6th at the minute. But Sheffield had that nasty injury, and he's been consistent there or thereabouts, but I think with Ethan it's just that opportunity, that little bit of getting back into the road racing swing of things, getting that confidence back about being in the position in the bunch. But it's not been a bad week for them, but they've just not shone, but they're still right up there. I mean, Sheffield on 4th place behind Vine, Yates and Bilbao, the proper climbers, is not too bad.
No, absolutely. There was only one of the Ineos Grenadiers yesterday, Ethan's younger brother, Leo, who didn't make that front split. Because if you didn't see it yesterday, folks, we had more wind. We've had quite a bit of wind this week. And once again, the crosswinds blew really hard in the mid part of the course. Split the field in half. Well, no, sort of 2/3 and what do you call that? Yeah, sort of 2/3 and 1/3, I guess. And the back group were never more than about a minute away. They looked so close. They came inside 30 seconds on a number of occasions, but didn't quite close it up.
Yeah, it was a good one yesterday. I'm pretty sure I've raised a beer. We were discussing before the start, but I'll let you count this one in, Jez. The final stage. Oh, no, I thought that was the go banner. It's just the speed limit sign.
Well, you're going to wait for me to count down from 100. We don't have that kind of time. Stuart O'Grady's going to blow the whistle, though, and there's quite a few fast men up at the front. That's Rob Stannard right in the middle. Not seen too much of the Alpecin-Deceuninck man just yet, but he's very capable across all sorts of terrain. He's got a lightning quick finish as well. That's Kim Hajduk in the middle, who's been sprinting well as well. He had a couple of top 10 finishes in the sprints. He also rode pretty well in the Criterium in Adelaide. There's Emils Leipins, who pulled his... I think he pulled both feet out in the sprint yesterday, Adam, and he was mighty lucky not to hit the deck yesterday. That was a big old save, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did well to save that. Bettiol, not really his fault. The gap closed a little bit, and luckily that he didn't crash both of them. But yeah, heck of a save.
Right, hold on to your hats, because I think it's about to kick off. As you can see, we're already right up into the Adelaide Hills. If you ever get to go to this part of South Australia, folks, anyone watching, and I know there are people watching all over the world, both live and through our highlights packages as well. It's a wonderful ride, staying actually in a way, as the riders do, in Adelaide, and just heading straight out of the city, going inland, going eastward, up into the Adelaide Hills. This is a cracking part to go. The mountain biking out here is brilliant as well. They're actually riding on their way up to the Eagle Mountain Bike Park, which runs to the right of them as they get a little bit further up through the Devil's Elbow. And then off to the left is the absolutely enormous Cleland Wildlife Park and all the trails around the national park around it, some of which are mountain bike trails, a lot of which are walking trails. But there we're getting a shot of all the different points. The Mount Lofty finish.
I love Corporate Lounge. Great.
Oh, it's kicking off in there.
Oh dear.
Yeah, well, these are the maybe...
Show us that in 2 hours. It will be entertaining then.
Yeah, this is the warmest day of the race as well. It's heated up nicely. We're up into the upper 20s, pressing close to 30 degrees, but there's still that little breeze blowing up through the valley and the various gullies they dip and drive through as well en route.
I'm not too sure if they've gone through the kilometre start, and some riders might be out the back still with a mechanical or something, maybe. There seems to be a very, very long neutral.
Yeah. O'Grady's on the radio as well, isn't he? And the riders, you see Luke Plapp talking to him there. I wonder... It's also the fact they've been allowed to come up alongside the bike. I mean, different race directors, you'll know this, Adam, some race directors really don't like that. I can think of a couple who just don't allow it at all, but it's been a long rollout, hasn't it? A long rollout.
Yeah. It has been indeed, yeah. You've got commissaires and then you've got race directors on the motorbikes as well. There's the Soigneurs coming past. They've obviously got to get to the finish line. What's their feed zone point? This is
a job I've actually done on quite a few big races, doing that, and I tell you what, it's a stressful job. Not just the driving, but it's then the race to get into position, make sure your vehicle's in the right place, and they all want to be ahead of each other. They've got to abide by the rules of the road, of course, but they all want to be ahead of each other. They all want to get the best spot, of course. And I spent a summer doing that about 12 years ago, something like that, and I tell you what, I would not want to do it again. It's incredibly stressful, not least, Adam, because I found it so stressful and tiring that I got ill. I was working for a women's UCI team. I got ill, and then of course, you know, I was doing everything and trying not to give any of the things I'd caught to the riders, which is difficult when you're making 1,000 sandwiches every morning and 1,000 musettes and 1 million bottles and doing massages.
Crikey, how big was this team?
I'm telling you, no, it's mostly the team staff who are eating all the, you know, you make it for everyone. Fairly shoestring budget, as you could probably tell. That's why they had me working for them. But oh my goodness me, what a hard job those guys do. Them and the mechanics and all the background people that we often don't see. You'll know that, won't you, Adam? I'm sure you can think of loads of people who've supported you in teams over the years that work so hard, and we just never see them.
Yeah, mechanics and soigneurs, carers are now called. They are, yeah, the amount of work they do is unbelievable. It is just from dusk till dawn. It's, yeah, dawn till dusk, sorry, the other way around.
Yeah, there's very little daily reward as well either. I mean, if they get a feed right and everyone gets bottles and bags, fine, that's what they're supposed to do. If they drop bottles or someone doesn't get a musette and they've got to then try and get it into the team car behind, it's real stress on.
Yeah.
And, yeah, tough
They're
job.
also like therapists. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you can sort of unload your problems on them when you're on the massage table as well. They're a shoulder to cry on when the times are hard as well. So, yeah, they are a great set of people and very, very hard-working people. And none of these riders here in this peloton would be on the start line with any of them today.
Yeah, absolutely. We doff our hats to everyone who's doing it at both a professional level and an amateur level. Let's not forget there are so many big amateur races and junior races right the way through our sport where there are people like this actually doing it for nothing as well, no money at all, because they do it for the love of the sport, looking after up and coming riders. So hats off to each and every one of them. Still being held. Loads of vehicles coming past now, getting ahead of the race as well. I think Stuart O'Grady is the most nervous person here. He just wants to get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not started yet as well, and they have gone through the kilometre 0 point, I haven't seen it as yet, but if they have, it doesn't really play into the hands of the riders that want to go and see attack, because this would have been a great launch pad for a lot of riders to make it very, very difficult. And with a sprint point over the top at Mount Lofty, I mean, it is with 97 k's to go when they go through the finish line for the first time. That's going to be coming thick and fast, very fast. And we've seen yesterday where some larger riders, faster riders than the climbers, let's say, are able to take those seconds for their teammates. If that does happen, I'm sure there'll be a bit of a kick-off. I'm sure there'll be a bit of a kick-off now between the race directs in the car if this has happened, just because it's taking opportunities away, but surely not, surely not.
I did mention at the finish yesterday, Adam, how impressive the French were yesterday. We've just been looking at Agi Desert Citroen's Dorian Godon, who had a good ride yesterday for Agi Desert Citroen team in 7. There was 4 Frenchmen in the top 10 and more sitting just behind them. They had a great ride yesterday. Here we go.
Yeah,
I think they're just ready to be...
Oh, no, they're going into a narrowing.
Yeah, there we go. Jascha Sütterlin, the first.
I was going to say that peloton then was wider than it was long. But look at the stress. Everyone wanting to be at the front, everyone wanting to be in position. Yeah, another narrowing as well.
Yeah, a bit of a squeeze on. Just to, before it all kicks off, Adam, just to complete what I was saying, because I think I've just got this feeling, despite the fact that Brillon Coquard is now 30 years of age and has been around a while, there's a lot of young French talent coming through on the sprinty front as well that could be heralding the start of a new... Hello, yeah, we've got a divide down the middle there, a bit of a very high def ridge.
Jez, before we were talking about the bike track that went down that I rode on, this is it. I was explaining to Jez that I couldn't remember if I've done this climb before or not that they started on. I've done the descent. A lot of these, as we've seen so far, a lot of the finishes are not too far away from Adelaide. So after the stage, instead of jumping in the van on the way back, it's quicker to ride back to the hotel in the centre of Adelaide. So, yes, to answer your question, Jez, I've ridden down here. I don't think they've started. They wouldn't send it up here in a race situation.
No.
Hence why it's still neutral.
Well, I think yesterday will have been our last chance to get a really good look at the fast men sprinting things out together. As I say, Hugo Page was very impressive yesterday. He also moved up a lot on GC yesterday because he took the final 3 seconds, didn't he? And he finished 3rd on the stage. Young Paul Penouet, who I've been banging on about all week, was 4th. And Dorian Godon, as I say, in 7th. Really good finish by them. Damien Touzé was only just outside the top 10 as well. So good to see a little group of French fast men coming through and kind of in the mould of Brillon Coquard as well.
Here we go.
Here we go. Right, kilometre 0, that'll be the one in the middle. Let's hope no one crashes into it. We're ready to go. O'Grady still telling them to chill out a little bit, though.
Oh, the cameraman. So they won't start yet because the rider that might have gone off the back that we noticed there when we saw that little curb in the middle of the road, they'll wait for him to get back on. If he's got a mechanical, they'll wait for him to get back into the peloton. There it is, the Trek Segafredo rider there. Looks like he might have come down.
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully not too hard. So the race director, Stuart O'Grady, will get the information when he's back in the peloton, and when he is back in the peloton, the race will start.
Should point out, by the way, actually, we're down by 1 rider today. We've had a couple of days where we've had no dropouts, but unfortunately, Filippo Baroncini, the Trek Segafredo rider, so his teammate, was out. I think he was involved with that crash with Taj Jones yesterday, pretty much the only crash we saw all day. So that's a shame to see. He did not finish yesterday. I'm not sure what his injuries are, but we wish him well.
These guys have definitely taken that shortcut.
Naughty boys. Stuart O'Grady will be waving them back. Slot them in at the back, I'd say. No, straight to the back. Let's hope they actually get back on, because they're now ramping it up. Yeah, there is a gap there. Ooh. This is better than the race.
See how stressful it is.
Yeah.
Trek Segafredo rider is like, I am not rushing. He didn't look to be, from his stature, he didn't look to be the climby type, so he's probably clapping his hands here. Oh, they're underway. Oh, no, they're not. Are they underway? Yes, they are underway.
Yeah, we're off. Here we go. The riders on the right have got a bit of an advantage there as well.
They're already at full speed. They've been behind that car flat out doing 400 watts.
Right, so Luke Plapp has got Magnus Sheffield on his wheel. Let's see which of these teams have been briefed to stir it up at the beginning. Mikel Honore is there in the Mountains jersey. So EF Education, Easy Post, as they have done all week, wanting to get involved in the early moves. Mikel Honore just laying it down and stringing it out at the front.
Yeah, this is going to be the first of many attacks, I feel.
That's the youngster Ivan Romeo on his wheel, the Spaniard on the Spanish team. As I say, he's only 19, he only turned pro this year, coming over from the Action Hagen Berman's team, but he's looked impressive. We've seen a fair bit of him this week, trying to get involved in breakaways.
Another EF rider. If anyone's thinking now while we're watching this as well, this doesn't look too speedy, these riders will be riding up here hard, hence why there's not many attacks, because the pace is so high. That not many riders will be able to attack. We can see Luke Plapp there just off the back of that tiny little quartet of riders off the front. Look how strung out it is.
We're not yet seeing a kilometre ticker at the top of our screen, but when we do, it should be picking up how far into this they are.
Big group.
Yes. Well, we haven't really had... This has not been a breakaway type week, has it, Adam? It's been sparse ones and twos making breakaways, but maybe this is the day over this kind of terrain where we might see a group go.
And I mean, for UAE, perfect. You know, they don't have to control. They have to control the race to a certain extent, but they're in the leader's position. You know, you want to get these sprint points, guys. You better ride, because we're happy for him to go up the road with some other riders that are not too important. Luke Plapp in there, Honore in there as well in the pink helmet. He's been on the attack once already. I think that's Chris Hamilton in the DSM jersey, just in front of the man in the yellow Jumbo-Visma top.
Yep, that is about 10 riders, but
it's
it
not
does
over
look,
yet.
No, there's others who are trying to get across. Unfortunately, again, they're split either side of that divide. Once we get off this main road...
Sorry, Jez, I was just looking there. Caleb Ewan chasing an attack down. It looks to be Rowan Dennis jumping across there, so he is definitely not done with. But Caleb Ewan said he'd eat a bit for breakfast this morning, woke up with his climbing legs on.
Well, we know that he can climb very well, can't he? In his early career, when he was a youngster, that was what he was touted as, a climber. Is that Rowan Dennis? Yes, it is. It is, isn't it? Straight past them and straight on the front. Let's see whether they are detached, though, because I think Caleb Ewan and a couple of others have strung it all out now. This is the hard start we were expecting.
I love it when this happens, when riders like Rowan just did there. You're sort of riding at 500 watts on the front, you flick your elbow and you sort of look surprised that no one's coming past you, and it's like, I can't do it.
If we can just get the 129 riders all on the right side of the road, that'd be quite handy. Here we go. I think we're there at last. Now stay there. I guess on a couple of those turns there back there, riders have taken a bit of a shortcut, just splitting things up. The same riders that were involved with that little sneaking breakaway of 10 riders are more or less still there. Yeah, Luke Plapp is keen to get something going today, the Australian National Road Race Champion.
Yeah, he's not made too many big accelerations either, just riding within himself, keeping that sort of high tempo, but without sprinting into a breakaway, just pacing himself so he don't go into that red zone. Jay Vine just sat nicely there on the left-hand side of the road with a couple of teammates around him. 13k until they get to cross the finish line for the first time, and that's when they'll get to the bonus sprint.
Yes, they'll have then a long descent down into Uradler, which is where that sprint is. They go across Mount Lofty in about 8k's time through the finish itself. But there's no classifications on Mount Lofty other than those 2 mountains points. They come on the second and what is that? Hang on, I've got to count this now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second and fourth time we go over out in total. The 5th time we go over Mount Lofty, it's the actual finish as well. This is a long, old, drawn-out drag, isn't it? Because even when riders are making a dig, it's quite an effort just to try and get clear. Such is the consistent nature of this rise.
Yeah, this is a great time to attack, though. With a little narrowing on the road, it's easier for UAE to block the road as such, really, and try and let a few riders go. But there didn't seem to be enough teammates there to do so. So riders getting through and still being able to go on the attack.
You can
As I said, it doesn't look too difficult from where we're sitting, but believe you me, the reason why riders aren't attacking, number one, will be to get through today's stage, but also because the pace is on at the front.
Get to see that shot again at some point, looking back down to Adelaide and the central business district. You get a sense of how far they've actually climbed already. Even on the back of the neutralised car, it was always uphill. It continues to be uphill at this stage. It's sort of flattened out a little bit now and calmed down. And the next attack comes from Arkea Samsic again. We've had 2 or 3 of their riders getting involved in these moves. Arkea Samsic and Alpecin de Koning seem very keen to be up the road today. This is Mathis Lebert, the Frenchman.
Daryl Impey as well, number 112. Those red numbers on his back for most combative rider, did we agree on?
Aggressive. He was
it.
aggressive yesterday. Actually, he was quite steady and measured in the way that he worked together with Jonas Rutsch.
Yeah.
A good break between those two.
Jonas Rutsch did a brilliant job yesterday. He went on the attack 3 times before it eventually went with that man, Daryl Impey.
Yeah, Impey. In fact, David Mackenzie telling us on the podium yesterday that at the end of this year, Daryl Impey is going to be moving to Australia. So I'm presuming that is fact, but he said it on the podium. Said Impey's. He said, we're looking upon him as one of us now, because at the end of this season, he's going to be moving with his family to Australia. Certainly had a successful time here.
Plapp once again. Ineos Grenadiers really showing that they want to make it hard today. Luke's Plapp job, make it hard at the start, make it hard for everyone in that peloton from the kilometre 0, and he's definitely doing so at the minute. We're going to see counter attacks, we're going to see a whittling down, so Ethan Hayter, Sheffield maybe can try and get those points just after the finish line, well, on the finish line for the first time.
Yeah, so 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds in I think I have to get that right. Uradler. Uradler is right at the top of the loop, so they have to go over Mount Lofty first, then down through the Valley Road, through Summertown to the far northeastern edge of this big loop we're doing, and that's where that sprint point is.
I was going to say, just look at UAE, quite happy to let that go, really. Again, just responding to Luke Dervidge there, closing that gap down, but they were happy to let that go, let those bonus seconds go up the road. If they can do that, it's more beneficial for them. You know, if Jay Vine doesn't sprint, doesn't get any seconds, there's a couple of seconds on the road and on the finish today, so it is doable if Jay Vine doesn't score any, and if Yates and Bilbao are able to score maximum points on each of their sprints, which is quite unlikely, that they would jump ahead of Vine. But that's in a perfect situation if they won the stage and took both bonus sprints.
There is our race leader in the Oka leader's jersey. Let's remind ourselves he hasn't actually won anything this week. His last victory was the Australian National Time Trial Champs, and that was only the 3rd victory of his professional career. Problem is, the first 2 were stages of the Vuelta, so his stakes are high, his level is high, and he's showing this week that he's probably the best climber in this field, certainly when he puts the watts down. And this is a little group sneaking clear, and it's a quality one as well, with Mikel Honoré in there as well. I think right on the back of it, our most aggressive rider from yesterday, Daryl Impey, is also in there again, I think, looking at the red numbers. I may be wrong. Yes, he is, right on the back. And this is Luis Mas, the Spaniard. Bandaged up elbow, like so many of the riders who've been down early on in this race. Good to see Movistar getting involved. Now, this is quite a big dig as well. There's a little bit of looking around going on as well.
Yeah, this looks to be I think it's Ivan Romero.
Now, this
Could
is
possibly be very wrong.
This is definitely Victor Lafay, the Frenchman, winding his way across for Cofidis, who must be on a real high after yesterday. They've come to Australia to compete, as they have to, in this World Tour race, and they've come up with a massive result yesterday for Brion Coquard. So Lafay, a good man for today. We've not seen anything of Victor Lafay. He's someone who could have, I think, on form, get involved in something like the corkscrew climb. It's his sort of climb, that, and maybe he's saving everything for the Mount Lofty stage. Lafay has made his way across now and looks good, the Frenchman.
He does look good indeed. The pace is so hard at the minute as well. Just look how strung out the peloton is. It's not because riders want to go on the attack, they just can't go on the attack at the minute just because the pace is so high. Luke Plapp again doing a fantastic job of not letting anything go up the road. Let's not forget this sprint point does suit the likes of Ethan Hayter. If you can get, he will get over the top in a good position, but down the other side after the centre, a couple of attacks coming at the top now, from a couple of riders behind. A little bit of a flatter section here before it ramps up to the finish again. The finish of the climb, should I say? Yeah.
Well, let's remind ourselves, the finish of the climb is actually the finish as well, as long as it's over the... Well, that's where the mountains points will be. There's no mountain points the first time, but this run-in now is what the riders will be doing for 3 more laps to bring us to the finish. It is one big 27-kilometre lap, and they're on the first one now. They do it 4 times. At the end of the 4th time, they finish on top of Mount Lofty, and that is the conclusion of the whole Santos Tour Down Under. It's quite as simple stage on paper, but those constant undulations mean it should be anything but simple, because there are so many opportunities in here for tired legs to be taken advantage of in this final day. The question is, I mean, Jay Vine has looked so rock solid until now, Adam, although we can see from Michael Matthews having that chain off on corkscrew just what any kind of jeopardy can do. We wouldn't wish that on Jay Vine because he's ridden so brilliantly, but we know it's not over till, what was it you said, not over until the lady of
it's not over till it's over,
sinks.
let's go there.
Yeah.
It's Chris Hamilton once again. He's been on the attack once. Michael Storr has had quite a quiet race so far. When he's on form, we know how good he is. Lafay there, as you've mentioned as well, one of the Arkea Samsic riders coming across. EF again, highly active. That might have been, on the top of that hill there in the black kit, Richie Port.
Oh, yes.
See if we get a shot out of him.
Let's have a look.
Just on the right-hand side round this corner. No, it's not Richie. No, it's not Richie. Wrong helmet. But yeah, it's similar kit. He's been out on the road. He rode out to Wollonga, and it says Wollonga King. It was painted on the road, and there's a great picture on his Instagram if everyone wants to take a look at it. But yeah, Richie's out there supporting the race at the minute.
Fantastic. I think he's on an extraordinarily expensive bicycle as well, and I've now forgotten the brand name. I think I was reading about it.
It's Beeston bikes he's on, and Richie's been on an incredibly expensive contract for the last 10 years, Jez, so expect nothing less.
There we go. It did look like a beautiful machine, absolutely beautiful machine.
Love Richie, great bloke.
Well, he's got an incredible history in this race, of course. Let's not forget how many times he's been second in this race. And if he hadn't been, he would be the most dominant rider in its history. Of course, the 2 victories he had in 2017 and 2020 were separated by Daryl Impey in between, but he's been second in this race 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
Movistar once again on the attack. They are highly active today. One rider brought back from the team, another one goes on the attack.
This is good to see.
Bit of a stalemate within the peloton there as well. No one wanting to respond to this. Hamilton once again responding to him. That's Jai Hindley from the Bora Hansgrohe responding to that as well. The Giro d'Italia winner. No, it's not. Sorry, my apologies. It's not Hindley.
I was going to say, we haven't really seen Hindley, have we, since that finish at Corkscrew? He's been very quiet. Even yesterday at the finish, some of the other climbers were up there going into that sprint. I'm sure he's probably just hiding himself. I just don't recall mentioning his name yesterday at all, which could be a good thing, I guess, for a GC rider, but interesting.
Yeah, they are within probably the last kilometre now, the last 700 metres of this climb, so all still pretty much together. Michael Matthews right towards the front, Sheffield just on his left-hand side, our right of the screen as well. So Magnus Sheffield in that young rider jersey, still 5th on the general classification, 45 seconds behind Jay Vine, right up at the front.
So across for the first time. And then they have that
Cataneo.
long descent to take them down. Yeah. So Soudal Quick-Step represented in that leading group. And he goes straight past as well. I don't think this is it, though, Adam, yet. I think there are still other riders trying to work their way across them, and they'll use the descent as well, I suspect, to do so. But let's see.
Yeah, you've got an Alpecin Fenix rider just coming across there, right onto the back. Sorry, not Alpecin Fenix, Alpecin de Koning. Looks to be Michael Gogol, the Austrian rider. Luke Platt just on the back of that as well. Ooh, this is getting a little bit fruity. That's a large group, it's going clear. Michael Matthews within that.
Yep, Matthews,
One of the UAE riders as well.
Matthews in the blue Zip Track Sprints jersey. Of course, he might well be thinking about trying to get some more points when they get down to Uredla. He has a lead in that competition over Jay Vine, but only of... no, he's got a lead over Caleb Ewan, I should say. 10 points over Caleb Ewan, so it's relatively safe, but let's see, because Ewan's been trying to get involved early on in this as well. We'll see where he is right now.
Cataneo is so strong. He's very capable time trials. We know had some fantastic results. A man that they use very much within that team to do a lot of the pacing, look to go in breakaways, make it hard, and he's definitely doing that right now.
Michael Gogol, the Austrian, is on the front. A little look around to see how many are there. Victor Lafay has made it in again. And this is the run into the finish line. That is the front of our peloton, being led by Groupama FDJ. The Alpecin de Koning rider won't do anything right now because they've got a rider up there, or Willie, actually. Opportunity for a feed over the top in what is getting hotter this afternoon, and the pressure's been right on all the way up this climb. They're now at the high point of the whole week, 710 metres on top of Mount Lofty, and that's the first time it's ever been raced across in this race. I think that's going to be an attritional ascent over the next 4 times up it.
Yeah, this descent is going to be fast and furious. Let's not forget, they do have the sprint point coming up. The sprint bonus seconds are with 97 k's to go, so in 5 k's time they'll cross that line, and with the downhill, if you're not in a good position now, it's going to be very difficult to move up, because it's not a wide road they're on either.
They're just making their way around the edge of the Mount Lofty Botanical Gardens. They then start this, well, they're on it already, but it's a very, very windy descent along the edge of Mount Bonithon, and alongside all the lovely walking trails and cycling trails off to their left, they pop out the end of the forest, and then they've got a kind of a valley road through Summertown to take them to Uredla and that sprint point, which is going to be in... there we go. Sorry, I'm not actually looking. I should really try looking at my map, shouldn't I? 2 kilometres. Oh, less than that, actually. It's quite quick, this descent off here as well. It's actually a little bit sooner than I thought. So already, riders need to be getting into position if they want to take those 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds.
Yeah, it's at 95k to go. Not seen Yates so far. He's been hidden, which is always a good thing, I think. Out of sight, out of mind, and ultimately not pushing any wind, sitting behind riders and getting a nice draft.
Adam, do you think we might see Yates or Bilbao try to get any bonus seconds at these 2 sprint points? That's what they're there for. Are they going to go...
I think they should do, yeah. You never know what might happen, and as I said earlier, you know, if Yates or Bilbao had the perfect race here, was able to score maximum points in each of the sprints and win the stage, and Jay Vine didn't score any at all, they would jump ahead of him by 1 second. So it is doable, but for that to happen, the stars really do have to align for whoever's going to do that between Yates and Bilbao. Let's not forget they're both currently on 15 seconds in 2nd and 3rd position, joint 2nd, let's say.
Yeah, and Jay Vine, up until this point, has looked utterly impenetrable. He's looked so calm and cool. He's been the fastest on the climbs when he's attacked. He's looked the strongest. He's looked rock steady in between. And of course, this year, I mean, his team last year were pretty strong, but the UAE Team Emirates are now well versed at defending race leaders and looking after them. And the likes of Mark Hershey have done a great job already in doing that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see which riders are on the front of that peloton. It's unusual on a descent like this, a super fast one, that it's blocked almost, that 4 riders are across the road, and there was 4 riders across the road there, so I don't know if a couple were UAE riders trying to make sure, because there is 4 riders that have gone up the road. Yet to find out who that is. We've not had the camera shot yet, but it looks to be 4 riders clear, and then, as I said, 4 riders wide across the road, which is very, very unusual. 1 Bora rider, 1 Jayco Aula rider by the looks of things. Yes, 2 Bora riders maybe.
No, I can't believe one of them will be Jai Hindley.
Michael Matthews by the looks of things. Yeah, Michael Matthews,
yes,
second wheel there. 2 Bora riders. Oh no, an Alpecin Fenix rider, Francis de Jure. Looks to be the Australian from Francis de Jure as well, who's in there. Miles Scottson. He's not finished behind.
We're really close to that sprint point now as well in Uradla, and that's surely what Matthews is there for as well. Although,
yep,
there's that 4, and there's 1 rider just stuck in the gap between them and what I guess is the front of the peloton, or even that is slightly disintegrating at this point. Matthews on the front right now.
Yeah, 84 there from Francis de Jure. Ruben Thompson, 77, Michael Google, 176, Max Schachmann.
Max Schachmann is a man who's well suited to this kind of terrain. The constant ups and downs, quite comfortable in the mountains, of course, Max Schachmann.
Yeah, it's a very strong breakaway, this as well. And when we look back and we got that shot of the peloton, it's not because that peloton is splitting because of the effort being made. It's because of the, well, it is because of that, but it's also sprinting out of the corners, riders being more confident on that descent, being able to carry the speed round the corners better than others, so gaps will appear as well, which if you're not in a good position, you're going to have to work harder for to close that gap afterwards.
So Michael Gogol at the back, and then Max Schachmann, the German, with 176 on his back for Bora Hansgrohe, slots in behind him. Michael Matthews, what a week he's had. In the race lead, of course, when he had that slip chain, looking so good over the first 2 stages. Having a look behind as well, just to make sure they are staying clear. Where's the sprint?
Yeah, they're all committed to this. That's the main thing for them, is that they all want this to go. They're putting a big effort. 1 Movistar rider coming across, so it is not over yet.
And Matthews keeps checking. He knows they're so close to it.
Sorry.
That's right. Emanuele Viti has made it across, and he's looking back too. That's a much clearer gap now, though. He must have been that 1 rider that was hovering in between. Matthews just sort of winding his way clear now. I don't think there's going to be any competition here when they get to this. It's a little bit further ahead than I thought this. A bit further down the road into Uradla. And this is where both of our 2 sprint points are today, where those bonus seconds are available. Michael Matthews just doing enough to make sure that he stays clear. I don't think he's going to get any competition for this. And there he goes. He gets 3 bonus seconds and 3 points in that blue jersey competition, which should be getting ever closer now to making the points classification his own.
Yeah, a little lump in the road here, so they just climb up ever so slightly again. As we were talking about at the start of the stage, if you're just joining us, there is 0 flat road on today's stage. It is either going up or going down. So this little kicker here it's only about 400 or 500 metres long, the little replay of Matthews getting those sprint points. And then they carry on dragging up, and then they drop down to the bottom of Mount Lofty. The long sort of drag up to it once again. It's only classified as 1.5 kilometres on the road book, but I can assure you the amount of climbing they have to do before that is quite long. Yeah,
they drop down now through Carey Gully, which they're into already, and then down to the low point in Bridgewater, right in the middle of the valley, before they climb back up again. But you're absolutely right, Adam. I don't think there's any flat at all. It is a proper sawtooth profile all the way through this in each of those 4 laps that we're doing. And it's not over yet, is it? That's still very close, really close.
Yep, so they've got 10 Ks of roughly up and down, more down than up, and then it does start to drag up. It is roughly from where I'm looking at now, just under 8.5 Ks at 3.2% average grading up to the finish line. So even though it's only classified as 1.5 K at 5.8% is that? 8.6.8%, sorry. Can't see my writing so small. So yeah, it is going to be a grind for these riders.
Michael Gogol is just laying it down now a little bit at the front, and it's doing a bit of damage to our blue jersey wearer as well. Michael Matthews getting detached. I wonder whether that's his job done now. He's looking back again. I think Matthews might sense it's time to go back.
I don't know.
No?
We saw this with Gogol yesterday. He's a very strong rider, but it's almost like he's put it in this big sort of show attack, which then the riders, you can see opening gaps up, and that sort of disencourages the riders to come through. They have to ease off to get a little bit of recovery to come back together again. So Gogol there for me, fantastic that you can push on that much, but you have the opportunity to have 5 riders in this breakaway rather than 4, so just back off a little bit, save your energy. You never want to be the one riding the hardest within the breakaway. Yes, you want it to go, but you also want to do it sensibly, not just keep bashing out the watts of the front, because ultimately he's only tiring himself out. Yes, he is tiring the riders out behind him, but they're not daft. They're not just going to keep matching his pace, because they know that that pace will not be sustainable for the whole race, obviously.
You are watching the final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under, the 23rd edition of this great race, with me, Jez Cox, and the words of Adam Blythe right there as he shares his experience of having ridden this race 3 times in his professional career. And we're now watching this breakaway, I think, just starting to formalise itself a little bit more, and that gap has gone out a bit more. I guess we could do with seeing some more shots at the front of the peloton. Matthews and Emmanuel Viti are back in, and the 5 is back complete. It's an unusual breakaway though, Adam. Not necessarily what I would have expected today. There's a couple of riders trying to get across. One of them is Sean Quinn, the American, in the pink of EF Education, Easy Post. And maybe it is a bit closer than I thought. The pressure is really on. Look at the long string at the back of that peloton.
Yeah, Gogol back on the front, wanting to really push on, flicking his arm, going VT coming through. But as we spoke about, this course is either going down or up, and that gap looks a little bit less than 15 seconds at the minute. I don't think the riders in the peloton will be too happy. And as I mentioned before, with Gogol pushing on so much, the French rider within there, then he's going, nah, I need to recover a little bit. The peloton's almost on, as if we're going to go again, I need to recover before that. If Gogol kept that together a little bit more, so they didn't have to back off and just worked better as a unit, they might have been able to stay away there, I think. 2 riders coming across, then the peloton right on their coattails now.
Trying to see who that second rider is there. I think it's one of the Soudal Quick-Step riders. No. See the colour of the jersey. It might be, actually. Dare I say it, this would have been a nice stage today, I think, for James Knox, Adam, and if he's watching, he won't want to hear me say that, I'm certain, but his kind of day today, I'd have thought, the Soudal Quick-Step man, with the constant undulations and the long, draggy climbs, but he's not here, of course. He is the rider who, unfortunately, was disqualified on stage 1 for what the race jury decided was too long behind a team car trying to make his way back after a concussion protocol. So he's not here. But it was Simon Yates. It was Simon Yates, you know, I think, who was following Quinn there. I might be. Oh no, sorry, I'm talking rubbish. This is the front of the group. Who's it? I'm trying to think who that would have been then.
It could have been anyone from Jayco Iola, really.
Well, there we go.
Same jerseys.
Oh dear. Right. It is now reforming at the front. We're in the kind of intermediate part of the valley. This almost, from this shot, looks like it's flat, but it's not, because you can see actually they're descending. Pretty much no one pedalling in there as they sweep their way around these corners. This is lap 1 of 4, let me remind you, 27k round. This is the very back end of a fast-moving peloton. It's been very hard from the off today, much like yesterday was, but yesterday was more kind of caused by the wind that split the peloton, the pressure being put on at the front, and then the group trying to chase to get back on. It has been a very hard last couple of days to finish this off. At the moment, it looks like the main peloton is actually staying together as one, but this being the last day, Adam, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to get some bigger gaps to groups forming at the back of this, I'd have thought, at some point.
Yes, I think it will start to split up eventually. I mean, you can see the pace is still on. They've been racing for roughly 20 kilometres now, and we've had non-stop action since the start of it. We've had a little break of 5. We've been through the finish once already. We've been through a bonus point, and we've still got attacks coming. Brilliant.
Cofidis again on a high. We've already seen Victor Lafay involved in the first big attack today. Which way is the wind coming from now, Adam? Have you got your Vela viewer up as they head southward away from Uradler?
Yeah, there's, even with the wind direction now, this whole route that they're on is covered, as we can see, by trees mainly. So the wind will not affect him too much. Dipping down, going on, not on top of really plateaus, because there isn't really any plateau roads around here. There is a couple, but still mainly all sheltered by trees. They've got 92 k's remaining, and it is only 13k an hour. So yeah, it's not going to affect them. It's coming from their left-hand side at the minute. And as you can see, no one's sitting on the right-hand side to get any protection from the wind. So, yeah, they're not going to be fazed by that today.
Paul Lapierre is the Frenchman for AG Desert Citroën, who's just drawn clear this little group here as well. The Frenchman, still tiny gaps though at this stage. Adam, we've talked all week about how short these stages are, particularly the really climby ones like this one at 112.5 kilometres today. You were telling me about how it's an integral part for a lot of these riders of riding back to the hotel after the stage, and therefore some days could be up to 200 kilometres, and I guess that's quite handy training this time of year.
Yeah, this won't be. It's only about 15k back to the hotel, if that, and all downhill, so it's a joy to ride back. You can freewheel all the way home. But yeah, the Wollonga stage as previous on the top of Wollonga Hill. You could ride back as a 150k stage, and you could ride back home, get a bit of training in your legs, and with a criterium the next day, it was yeah, it wasn't too bad. I don't think many riders would have been doing that yesterday with this stage today, though.
No, this is a particularly hard way to finish. Even as it looked like this group was getting a gap, it's still so close as well. We have 12 kilometres until they next cross the line. So they're kind of working their way southward now, down towards Bridgewater and Aldgate at the bottom of our big loop, before they then start the climb upwards and get into the lower slopes of Mount Lofty once again. You can see there's an awful lot of descending to this point as well.
Yeah, Shane Archibald and Drisner's there on the back. 2 sprinters. Marco Haller's done a great ride to get in the front here.
Yeah. Marco Haller,
big group going clear there as well.
That's about 12 riders, something like that, isn't it? And
yeah,
quite well represented different teams looking down there. Lots of different jerseys.
Yeah, there is. That's Ben Swift from the Ineos Grenadiers. I think that's Michael Heckburn from Jayco Ayula. There is no Bahrain victorious rider in there, and there is no UAE rider in there too, obviously.
Chris Hamilton has been in the last 2 breakaways. There is a Jayco rider. That's Hepburn, Michael Hepburn. Yeah. So there is one in there for them, and he's on the radio as well. Of course, everything today for them, surely. Although we've seen Michael Matthews already in the break and taking maximum points at our first sprint point, everything's got to be about Simon Yates sitting in second in the general classification right now. Adam, now that we've seen Mount Lofty. Obviously, we've still got 4 more laps. We've got 4 laps in total. Sorry. Is this looking like? Do you think this is going to be an appropriate final day? Because it's replacing the Wollonga Hill, which has become such a classic in recent years. Not having Wollonga Hill in it, in a way, Stuart O'Grady's sticking his neck out a little bit and going with his take on how the race should be finished. Seeing it in the first lap, does it look like the kind of finish this race needs?
It didn't need it, but it's certainly welcome, and it's a welcome change as well. You know, you can't have the same route over and over again, no matter how good it is. I mean, the Tour de France is changing its finish location next year to Nice with a time trial at the end. So everything has to change eventually. But so far, so good. I mean, this stage has been thrilling so far. This is the biggest breakaway we've had by a long shot. Chris Hamilton in there, 2 DSM riders as well. Ben Swift, Michael Hepburn in there. Hepburn's on the front, Jay Kayula rider. Swift just sitting on the back as well, not doing anything, which shows there's a bit of intent there from the Ineos Grenadiers. We saw Luke Platt very active on that first climb.
That's Mark Bristenga in there as well, who we remember took maximum points at the sprint about 2 stages ago, wasn't it? The Spaniard popped up and took the points and the bonus seconds. There is Ben Swift. There's Victor Lafay again, the Cofidis man, making it in there. This is obviously the stage he's been waiting for. And actually, when I think about it, it kind of makes sense, because we really haven't seen anything of him all week. And this is exactly the kind of day that would suit the former Giro stage winner. I guess when you say former Giro stage winner, you're always a Giro stage winner, aren't you? That's his level. But particularly in these undulating days, we're looking here at Chris Hamilton.
It's interesting that Hepburn's riding through as well. Maybe wanting to make it hard for Jay Viner and his team in the background with such a big group gone. There's no real threat on GC up within that group at the minute. Don't forget that the first 3 riders on the general classification have 45 seconds to 4th place, which is Magnus Sheffield. He has a teammate in the front group with Ben Swift in there, who looks to be just sitting on.
I think the best placed rider in there is Paul Lapierre, the Frenchman for Agi Désert Citroën team, but he is 7 minutes and 5 seconds down on the lead.
I think Victor Lafay 5 minutes 18 by the looks of things, so he might have just jumped above him, his fellow countryman.
Good shout. Yep, thank you for spotting that. We're being told the gap is 23 seconds, so it's eminently bridgeable, but crucially it is growing.
It is growing indeed, and this is the route we talked about when we were speaking about the route in terms of the climb, the classified bit of the climb just being 1.5 k's long, but they do drag like this for around 8 k's all the way to the top. So it's great for riders that want to be able to bridge across, that are feeling good, that are very good climbers, that can keep the high power on them. We've seen Rowan Dennis, the likes of this sort of train for him will suit him, that he can hold that high power, really stretch things out to jump across to these guys. But that is definitely easier said than done, and considering it's 3.8% average gradient, they're knocking along quite quickly still.
This is Aldgate, the little town of Aldgate. They're winding their way through. The crowd come out to enjoy it. There's a few vuvuzelas being blown there as well, by the sound of it.
Could have been a redo.
It could have been, couldn't it? We are very much... Yeah, there could have been a didgeridoo. We're very much in koala country here as well, so we will keep our eyes peeled. We've been spoilt with kangaroos this week, but no koalas as yet that we've seen. And you can tell from
Honestly,
the sign they've just gone past.
If a cameraman is able to spot a koala in a tree and capture it on camera, the man shouldn't be on the back of this motorbike, he should be on National Geographic.
Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. I'm just still trying to count up exactly how many riders we have
13
here.
riders within that group at the minute. Well, we have 13 riders. Do you want me to name them? We've got Mike
please. Yes, please. Go for it.
Paul Lapierre from AG2R. We've got Mark Bristenga from Trek Segafredo, Francois Bidard from Cofidis, Victor Lafay from Cofidis, Samuel Gaze, who got second on the opening stage, the prologue, Ben Swift, Timo Rosens from Jumbo Visma, and then we've got Johan Jacobs from Movistar, 2 riders from DSM, Chris Hamilton and Matthew Dinham, and Matthijs Berg from RK Tamsik, and the last man, Marco Haller from Bora Hansgrohe.
Marco Haller, of course, who got that brilliant win last year in the Bema Sai Classics, out jumping Wout van Aert from the breakaway. It was the biggest win of his career, if I remember correctly as well. It was a brilliant moment in Hamburg at the end of last summer, sort of late August, early September time, if I remember correctly. It was a brilliant win. He was also quite emotional afterwards as well, utterly delighted. Very talented rider. Well,
probably shocked to beat Van Aert.
Well, if you look at Van Aert's record, he's quite often beaten from small groups. He seems to be much better when he's
Jez,
in a big.
I'm going to stop you in your tracks. We both watched that sprint. Haller timed it for perfection. He went the other way to what he was looking that Wout van Aert was looking at. Brilliant result still, but I think, you know, the speed that Wout van Aert was coming at, he'd have definitely got that.
It was nice timing, good road positioning too as well.
Fantastic timing.
Yeah. So
He's been around up. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say 2 Cofidis men in here, of course, so they've got strength in numbers. Go on, Adam. That was my bit. I'm done.
I was going to say Marco Haller. He's been around. He's been around the block a little bit. He's a very experienced rider. Hence, he's not a climber as such, but being able to put himself in the right position and find himself in this group as well is brilliant. This is a kind of group with such a big group going that you might have expected one of the GC guys that was around 46, 50 seconds down within a minute to try and get within this and really put the pressure on UAE and the other teams to bring this back.
No, it's going out, but not as quickly as we thought. I'm not sure. I don't know if I believe that gap, Adam, either. Actually, we really could do with, as you say, the tree cover doesn't help because we're looking to see a bit more of a clearer aerial shot. There are some bits in the valley where you get to see a little bit more clearly a visual gap between these 13 riders and the front of the peloton. This is the peloton itself, of course, and spread wide, so they're not absolutely shredding along here.
No, they looked to have backed off a little bit. Caleb Ewan was just moving up there on the left-hand side, so all together, and this is the roundabout. So, yeah, around 30 seconds, I'd say, back to that. Ethan Hayter.
They're very close to starting the gradual rise up to Crafters, because you can see from the pictures they're just sort of neck climbing now anyway, back up to Mount Lofty, having gone through Stirling. Of course, this is the first time round the lap, and Stirling is where the start point is for the bike path that actually takes you all the way back down into Adelaide. There's a relatively newly finished cycle path that goes from Stirling using the Crafters to Stirling Bikeway, and according to my guidebook it's one of the best rides around here off the main road anyway, to get away and maybe do a spot of koala watching in amongst the trees off-road too. There's a little bit of a gap, and is that Caleb Ewan? It is Caleb Ewan.
Go on, Caleb.
He's got his climber's legs on today and is trying to see if he can go across that gap.
Good on him. He had a couple of riders looking to go with him as well, but chapeau, Caleb, on a course like this today. It's not one that will generally suit him, but just wanted to get it stuck in. There is one rider in between that looks to be an Astana rider, maybe just trying to get a glimpse of the colours, and he's with his teammate, the youngest rider in the race as well. Oh, Michael Matthews following him.
So maybe this is about the blue jersey then as well. Well, maybe it is, because the two of them are effectively deciding it between them today. Caleb Ewan on 47 points at the beginning of the stage. Michael Matthews on 58. Make that, 61 now, because he took the 3 points at the first sprint point in Uralda. There's just one more sprint point before the finish, and I wouldn't expect necessarily to see Michael Matthews and Caleb Ewan sprinting out the finish, but you never know. They're hardy individuals, those two, who can quite easily cope with some undulations.
Yep, they definitely can indeed. We might see a few kicks on this steeper section at the top of Mount Lofty. 31 seconds is still reachable. It needs a good couple of riders. There was a...
This is Sanchez. Yeah, Sanchez trying to go across. So it seems an unusual day that we haven't seen Astana on the attack. They have been the attackingest team so far, the most aggressive team so far, really, every day being in the breakaways. And this is Luis Leon Sanchez now trying to go across by himself. Let's not forget, I'll remind people, because it's quite a remarkable thing, he was the winner of this race back in 2005, and he won it ahead of Alan Davis and Stuart O'Grady, who's now the race director. And now here he is trying to work his way across the gap to this group.
Yeah, he's a brilliant rider. I love watching him, always in a little bit bigger gear than what you want to see him, always looking sort of laboured, but just constantly just looks so good on the bike, looks so powerful. He's brilliant. He always sits up eventually as well and pulls his jersey down. I remember when I was racing with him, when you were in the middle of the peloton, all of a sudden he'd sit up, bolt upright, hands off the bars and pull his jersey down. Which you're like, whoa, you're in the peloton, hands on the bars, mate.
Hey, even you're showing your age now, because they don't wear jerseys anymore. Half of them, it's skin suits, isn't it? There you go.
Lewis Leon will have a jersey on. Guaranteed he'll be wearing a jersey. Hepburn's got a jersey on as well. Look.
You're right, yeah. Absolutely. I must admit, I have no idea, particularly in a stage race, I have no idea how these riders cope with, should we say, nature breaks, wearing a skin suit. I know some of the skin suits are a bit more pliable than they used to be, but it's got to be a bit harder.
The zip opens right up at the bottom of them on generally most of them, so you can zip it all the way down, and yeah, it's not too bad.
Sounds like a nasty accident waiting to happen, that. Oh dear. Oh. Anyway. 13 riders clear. We've rattled through them already. The only ones that have teammates, though, are the Cofidis pairing of Victor Lafay and Francois Bidard, and then the DSM pairing. And DSM could do with showing themselves a little bit more in this race. The black and blue jersey had been relatively quiet, save for Marius Meyerhofer sprinting well at the beginning of the race. Matthew Dinham and Chris Hamilton, super talented climber. Hamilton himself, of course. Those two are in here. Well, not in here, they're in the leading group, of course. We're actually watching yesterday's winner there, Guillaume Coquard, who must be pedalling with a spring in his stroke today, having taken the biggest win of his career yesterday. And the team were making the most of it on social media, I have to say, last night. Cofidis team, their social media team had gone into overdrive, going back over his career, all of his 49 wins. But as I say, Adam, I did a little bit of research last night going back. It is remarkable how many of those wins have come in races that finish uphill, or maybe it isn't remarkable, because actually the other thing I was struck by was just how lightweight he is as well. I'm sure I saw him down as 59 kilos. Or at least that's what's on Tinterweb, so we have to believe maybe what we're told, or maybe we don't have to believe what we're told, but maybe that indicates why he doesn't win so many of the big flat, fast bunch sprint finishes, but he's a real uphill specialist.
Yeah, he's got a very, very good punch in him, very powerful punch on him, and if he is around that way, it's even a couple of kilos either way. Still very light indeed, so it's not a surprise yesterday when you see him.
But the gap has gone out about another 20 seconds, and as you can see, we're just over a kilometre away from the finish line again for these the next King of the Mountains, or the first King of the Mountains point. It'll be the second time across Mount Lofty, but the first time we've contested any mountain points, and it is a first category climb. Of course, we're on it already. First category means there will be 10, 6, 4, 2 and 1. Are there any riders in here at all who are involved in the King of the Mountains? Not that I can see, no. Current classification, Mikel Honoré leading that one. We had seen him getting involved early on today. And then there was Jay Vine still in second in that competition, just 1 point behind Honoré. Yates, Fellini, Lucas Plapp and Alessandro Covi, but some big gaps down there. So an opportunity for someone here to take some points. If they were to stay away for both ascents of it, both mountains points, then someone could claw them way back up to second place level with Jay Vine, but it cannot be taken off Mikel Honoré by anyone in this breakaway today. Anyway, that is one thing to be sure of. There you go. That's a nice, neat working double pace line there, isn't it, Adam? This is a kind of a... Have you got a magic number in your head on a stage like this for the ideal size of breakaway? Because it is quite a big group. Oh, hello. Hello.
Yeah. Ooh, looks like it's cooling down quite quickly.
That's not 37 seconds.
Ideal size for a breakaway for me.
Yeah,
bigger the better.
Yeah?
Bigger the better and full of sprinters.
Well, there we go. Yeah, that makes sense. I think they know it as well. Lafay has dropped to the back and keeps looking over his shoulder. I might be speaking too soon. maybe I am speaking too soon. Maybe that shot is foreshortening the distance, but the peloton is stringing down as well. Let's see who's chasing. Soudal Quickstep are chasing. I think that might be Stan van Tricht. Look to see the number. Looks like his form. The Belgian.
Interesting.
And there's the Oka jersey, sat right in behind his teammates. Why is it interesting, Adam? What's going on?
I'm not too sure at the minute. They do have Schmidt there at 46 seconds. So maybe they want to try something with Schmidt on this, bring it back together, give him more of an opportunity maybe. But just with one rider trying to claw 13 riders back is going to be very, very difficult indeed. They're almost at the top of Mount Lofty now. The steepest section of the official climb, 1.5 k's long at 6.5%, is the top.
So all these riders and us as fans getting an opportunity to just remind ourselves of the run into this finish, because this is the finishing hill, as well as being the first of our King of the Mountains points this time through. Next time we go across it, it won't count for anything. It's just yet another climb. Chris Hamilton leading through, taking Johan Jacobs next. Not quite at the top just yet.
Working well together, the group. They're not panicking. We've not got anyone really wanting to drive the pace on more than another. Everyone's riding well together, are sharing the work together. Marco Haller on the front now, followed by the Trek Segafredo rider, and then Ben Swift. Mark Brustenger being the Trek Segafredo rider.
Yeah, it's a proper old mixed bag of different rider types in here, isn't it? We've got a bit of everything.
Yep. Luis Leon Sanchez will have been brought back, by the way, everyone, if anyone's wondering where he is.
Oh, it's really in the balance, isn't it? 30 seconds now. It looked like it was closing down. Maybe once we're over the top, we'll see if something forms from behind on the descent.
I think that was the top there as they run through it. They drop down after that, and then it's the finish. So, yep, they're through the finish gantry for the top of the climb, I think. Or is it? No, it's not.
I see. I was
no,
just...
it's not, Jez. It's not. Here's the top.
Yeah, I mean, I was presuming the mountains points were on the actual line, but you might be... Sometimes it's not like that, though, is it? They've got a movable line, but I think it is going to be on the finish. Didn't see any gantry or anything, but let's see. I don't think this will be really contested properly by that group. There's no one in there that serves to really worry too much about taking those mountains points, but let's see.
44 seconds, so UAE happy for this to go out. Yeah, they're coming up to the final 300 metres.
It looks like Matisse Lebert of Arkea Samsic just swinging off, and there it is. Yeah, so they are using the finish line as the top of the classified first category climb, which makes sense. It's good for the crowd. So it is Johan Jacobs who goes through first. Largely irrelevant in the King of the Mountains competition, but they are going to start the long descent now back down into the valley. Alessandro Covi, interestingly, right at the front of the group there as well. Jay Vine nervously looking around, having a few words as well.
Stevenens, so another Soudal Quickstep rider going on the... Well, not on the attack, but wanting to keep things going. We've seen one of their riders already pushing on. Now another one pushing on. Obviously not happy with it just as of yet. 41 seconds. It's the second rider from Soudal Quickstep, as I said, wanting to push on. So the situation, they'll be getting direct updates from their team director. Was that their rider Schmidt there at the back?
Might have been. He's been a bit quieter the last couple of days, the Swissman. Climbing so well, of course, making it into that group and finishing third into Victor Harbour. He's one of only 4 riders that could go with Jay Vine's attack that day. But he was looking a little bit weaker and hasn't looked quite as strong since then. But let's see if it is him.
I don't think he'll have been suffering. I was thinking maybe more of a problem, maybe. I think it was interesting that he wouldn't be at the back just because of form. He won't have just lost it like that, definitely not. But maybe a little bit of a problem, maybe a puncture, maybe wanting to go back and get some hydration, maybe. Who knows? Need to get an update to see if it was actually him at the back. But there's one thing for certain, Schmidt can go downhill like a stone.
Caleb Ewan is now at the back there too, in those Australian national team colours. He's been keen to get involved today. At the moment, he's just got a little dangling group that he's in off the back on this really fast descent down here through the gullies.
Yeah, it's Schmidt right on the back. So the last man there, Mauro Schmidt, Soudal Quick-Step, sitting 5th, 46 seconds down. Unusual to see for him.
Yeah, the Soudal Quick-Step man. Having a look
Yeah, he's
around.
looking for the car.
Yeah, there we go. So there's something he wants to go back for. This the light on this descent as well, Adam, it can't help because it's constantly changing. And even if you've got, as all these riders will have, a decent pair of shades on, you're in and out of light and darkness all the time.
Yeah, it's all of them will have sunglasses on. It's the same for all of them, but it's yeah, they'll get used to it. I think when it's pretty much like this the whole way around the course. We've seen how many trees are around when we were talking about the wind earlier and if it's going to affect it, and with all the bush around, it's not going to cause too many problems.
So they continue, these 13, and just, I certainly haven't seen any of them looking around for a while. There'd been a fair bit of looking around as the group was getting closer. 47 seconds now. Let's see if they can get it a bit closer to that magical minute mark. It's a big group. I'll remind folks at home, best place rider in there is Victor Lafay, the Cofidis man, the Frenchman. Another day where we have lots of French riders on the move. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 French riders in this leading group of 13. They're actually the second most populous nation of riders in the race. Of course, Australia has the most riders in this race, at 28 of them. 19 French riders in the race, so maybe I shouldn't be too surprised to see them doing well because there are so many of them. What nation do you reckon's next, Adam? Australia and France the most. Which nation next in this race?
Oh, God, now you're asking. I've no idea, mate.
It's not overly interesting, but I'll tell you, it's Italy. Italy, the Netherlands, New Zealand and Germany.
And not a single Italian in the breakaway.
No. Well spotted.
No.
Well spotted.
Come on, guys.
It is a relatively multinational breakaway, though. Just the one Brit and Ben Swift. 3 Aussies. Matt Dingham, Chris Hamilton and Michael Hepburn. One Dutchman in Timo Russen, the former Dutch national road champion, and Marco Haller, the Austrian for Bora Hansgrohe. Man with gotta be the best moustache in this peloton, if not the whole peloton. Zooming in on Jay Vine. That that bike featured heavily in the GCN Tech video I was talking to you about yesterday, folks. You can find it on YouTube, actually. Fascinating deep dive into some of the bikes these riders are on, and a good look at that Conargo, which is, of course, the bike of Tadej Pogacar this year as well. So have a look at it. Look it up. It included 2 different 3D printed elements, one of which I think was a front mech hanger, and the other was a chain catcher, if I remember correctly. I have to say, I'm still not entirely sure, Adam, what it is with the 3D printing, why it just can't be made in a factory, why it has to be 3D printed, I don't know. But
cheaper, lighter. You have to change the whole mould on a bike, which is very expensive indeed.
So now I do know. Now that makes sense to me.
That's just a guess, but I'm guessing that might be the case. Is it you can make adjustments to a mould, but to add something onto a mould is very, very costly.
Of course, Pinarello made a big deal about Filippo Ganna's hour record bike being the first fully 3D printed frame and fork or frame set don't know if that one's available just yet for the mass market to buy, but I guess it will have to be at some point.
It has to be, yeah. It has to be. You can do a pre-order where you'll get it in 15 years. Shane Archibald out the back here. You can definitely tell the weather is a lot hotter today. This is one of the first times we've seen any of the riders this week with the jerseys open. Well, the jerseys, the skin suit for Shane.
Yeah, the temperature was always due to be getting hotter towards Sunday, and as I say, today close to 30 degrees, nowhere near as hot as it was before the race, and in the run into the Women's Santos Tour Down Under as well. It's cooled down a fair bit since then. Thankfully, though, no more of that rain that we had on Tuesday night on the streets of Adelaide. Seems an awfully long time ago, with all those riders going down on that left-hander, making its way down to the Torrens River. So we're now getting very close to coming through Uradler again. No sprint this time, but don't be fooled by the fact that there's a sprint point in Uradler.
I was just rattling my brain there. Now we've done a lap of this circuit and seeing what it's like, it's hard for anyone to really get any time back on this. For the likes of Simon Yates, for the likes of Bilbao, the climb is not super difficult. So I think there's going to be there's got to be a numerous amount of attacks. There's got to be a lot of punches thrown. And with this circuit the way it is, if Simon Yates were to attack, and he attacked on, say, this climb that they've done now, it's a good place to attack because he does have Michael Hepburn in the front. So if he does go clear, he's got a rider in front of him that can help him if needs be. But for any other riders, I think they'll need help. I don't think this course lends it to just doing a solo attack, and unless you're Remco Evenepoel, which he's not here, but he does start racing today, actually, in the Tour de San Luis.
He does. Good, useful plug. You've teed me in there nicely, Adam, because I should tell you what else is available. I should tell folks at home what else is available this weekend. We had cyclocross yesterday, and, well, for us, a fascinating winner in yesterday's Castile Cross at the Exact Cross in Zonnebeke. Oh gosh, I won't tell you who won because I know I'll get in all sorts of trouble about it, but an interesting winner in the men's race. Predictable winner in the women's race, but an interesting win in the men's race. A rider who hasn't won for quite a long time. I don't think that'll spoil it for anyone who's watching it. Do go and enjoy the
cyclocross. He's not won for a long time.
In cyclocross, you're absolutely right. On the road, this rider has been winning an awful lot, particularly the last sort of 3 seasons. We'll move on from that, though, because that may have ruined it for a few people, but there we go. If you're a cyclocross fan, of course, you will be watching, I'm sure, when we finish with us today, the Cyclocross World Cup, the first Spanish Cyclocross World Cup for 11 years in Benidorm. Been a big build-up to that race as well. It's a fascinating run into the conclusion of the cyclocross season. Marty McDonald and Jeremy Powers will be bringing you comms on that today. There are some territory restrictions.
Sorry, I was waving frantically at Jez then. We're on a video call through in different places. But we have a change of guard at the front, which is very interesting indeed. Bahrain Victorious have come to the front. We spoke about how this might be difficult to whittle down, how to get those that time back. They do have a sprint point coming up this time after the finish line. Well, yeah, just after the finish line on the bottom of the descent. Bilbao is very good at descending. Jay Vine, Simon Yates is a very capable descender as well. Jay Vine, he's a great descender as well. So they obviously want to go out and start chipping away at the old block a little bit, starting to claw back some time, hopefully. This is only going to lead into more action for us to talk about and for you guys at home to watch, which is brilliant.
Absolutely. They are in currently Carey Gully, making their way down to the low point again in the middle in Bridgewater. And then basically they start the climb back up to Mount Lofty once again. Through Mount Lofty this time, they'll go through there with 51k to go. Once they go through there, they then start the descent down to where that sprint point is that Adam's talking about, where we have more bonus seconds available. There's our race leader, Jay Vine. Looks cool as anything, no problems at all, just resetting his head unit by the looks of it on the bike. So this is lap 2. We're right in the middle of lap 2 of 4 in this, the final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under. Going into this stage, Jay Vine has a lead of just 15 seconds over Simon Yates and Pello Bilbao. My name's Jez Cox. I'm alongside Adam Blythe. And it is I would call that a vuvuzela. I'm not sure whether...
Definitely was a vuvuzela.
I'm not sure if it's the one we could hear further around the course, but they're definitely noisy old things. So, this is the moment that Adam has spotted while I was waffling on about cyclocross and various other things. Bahrain Victorious coming to the front and really stringing things down. Now, where is Pello Bilbao? Right, second last wheel?
Last man in that group, yeah, very last wheel in that group. It's also Sunal Quickstep, who have got one man in there, sat third wheel at the minute, helping as well. We've talked about Mauro Schmidt. He was at the back moments ago on the descent, looking to get a little bit of assistance maybe, but he is, I keep mentioning it, 46 seconds down and in 5th place at the minute. So maybe something they're trying to tee him up for later.
This is Sam Gaze right at the back of the group. Haven't mentioned him yet. The Kiwi, who is in this leading group of 13 for Alpecin de Koning, the only Alpecin de Koning rider in there. They had been very active at the start today. From the second we rolled out of Unley, actually, the boys in black and blue, determined to get their rider, a rider, in a breakaway today, and Sam Gaze is that man. Still not quite touched the minute. It's been hovering around this point, and Bahrain Victorious have just chipped off a few seconds as well. So having said, certainly Neil Stevens having said that maybe thinks it's all over and they're racing for the 2nd or 3rd place on the podium, I'm not sure we were to believe a word of that at all, because Bahrain Victorious have got a plan here. Question is, Adam, well, 2 questions, I guess. What exactly is the plan? And the second question is, will it work?
If they don't try, they'll never know. I think that's the main thing, is that they need to give it a go. They need to try and do something. They need to, they said, Neil Stevens said that they're riding for the podium, but this doesn't look to me like they're riding for the podium. They have intent. They want to go and try and get that win if they can and hold on to the podium. Still be in a good situation, but a better situation would be to take some time back and put himself on the top step of it.
You mean he wasn't telling the truth?
He's definitely telling the truth. It's within there somewhere.
Oh, yes. Lovely shots looking down through the lush green trees of the Adelaide Hills. Not the best for the camera shots. We've had quite a few stages, much more open and exposed, particularly when we went up to the Barossa region and Tanunda. And actually right the way across the Fleurieu Peninsula, very open and exposed. Of course, that's why the winds played havoc a bit this week. This is classic Tour Down Under territory here in the Adelaide Hills. Lush green trees. We're well away now from the vineyards where we were yesterday in McLaren Vale.
Just heard from our colleague who is in Australia on the ground, Robbie McEwen. I was just chatting to him what he thinks of today's course. Not hard enough to split the favourites. He thinks there'll need to be a big late attack within the last 2k to try and open up a 5-second gap and take 10-second bonus for the win.
Oh, wow.
But that's if Jay Vine doesn't get 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah,
so there's bonus points for that as well.
And we've seen how evenly matched those 3 are as well, haven't we? Jay Vine, Simon Yates and Pello Bilbao. They're actually... It's quite likely they come to the top of Mount Lofty very close together, unless they can take advantage of either a mishap or a moment of opportunity, I guess. That's why they've got to be so alert all the time, and their teams. Robbie McEwen, of course, by the way, I'm just looking this up because I can remember he has been top 3 in this race. 2nd on general classification in 2004, behind Patrick Jonker. 2nd, he's been 3rd in 2006, behind Simon Gerrans and Luis Leon Sanchez.
Oh, God, he must have been flying for that one. Those two have a lot more punchier climbers, so Robbie must have been on some form for that. Bonus sprints though, innit? It's good. He was quite good at sprinting.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Yeah, good to have that intel on the ground out there from Robbie. We look forward to, of course, hearing him back at the Home of Cycling on our network this year, of course, in amongst our very many illustrious colleagues. So this is the low point of lap 2. Low point geographically, the riders have made their way down into the dip of the valley and are just now starting the rise. You can see the hill behind them, and they're starting the rise back up to Mount Lofty, where we're going to finish the whole of this year's race today. This time through, there will be no classification whatsoever. They'll go through it in about 12 kilometres time, right over the top of Mount Lofty, but then they descend down to yet another sprint point. The second and final one, the last one of the whole Tour Down Under this year, where there will be 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds, and of course blue jersey points. Michael Matthews took them at the first one. That seems like an age ago right now. But you never know, the way this stage is going, it could swing around in their favour, and Michael Matthews will hoover up some more. 40 seconds right now as Bahrain Victorious continue a steady but persistent chase behind, which they're hoping only needs to be that little smidge quicker than what our 13 men in the lead are doing, and this break will come back in.
Michael Matthews could win the stage on a day like today. The climbs, as we've discussed, not mega hard at the minute. They're hard enough to cause pain in the legs, obviously, but Michael Matthews, we saw him right up there on the corkscrew climb, so that climb for how long it was, I think it was 2.8k. Mount Lofty, they do have it is a total amount of climbing of about 8k of going uphill, but the last 500 metres being the steepest part, which Matthews, as we know, is a very good sprinter. There is a little dip down to the finish line as well. For Matthews, for everyone, which will suit Michael Matthews, that little bit of zip in his legs, the timing that he'll be able to do so. So I don't think on a day like today we can rule Matthews out for a lot of the sprinters, actually. Even Brian Coquard, we saw how good he was yesterday. Bettiol, he's another one that's great on terrain like this. 33 seconds as well now, the gap, so they have come down quite a bit with Bahrain Victorious and the lone rider from Soudal Quickstep chasing.
Trying to see, Adam, just how many of that Bahrain Victorious team are there, whether they are all there. I think there might be. Jascha Sütterlin off to one side. Interesting, though, that Soudal Quickstep, they've definitely wanted to be a little bit more engaged and active today, I think, haven't they? But not with a rider in the breakaway.
Yeah, maybe that's the plan, that they want to bring this back so they can put a rider in the breakaway, make it difficult. I think ultimately this stage needs to be as chaotic as possible. For any of the riders that are within that sort of top 10 positioning, they need chaos. They need as many attacks as they can. They need to be able to pick the attacks. They need help from the teammates. The more controlled this is, the less chance I think they have of gaining any time back. The more chaotic it is, the harder it is to control, which enables gaps to grow, which enables tired riders to show. 2 riders now from Soudal Quickstep.
So it was going to be it was always going to be a wait to see whether Bahrain Victorious got any help or not. So interesting, they're getting involved. Where does this lay now as we watch Ben Swift there at the back? Where does this lay with Ineos Grenadiers? What do we think their tactic is going to be? They've got Swift in there. Is that it for them today? And we know how good he can be. I don't know if you know what his form's like at the moment, though, Adam. Got any intel on that?
It's good. He's in the Ben Swift's form.
Yes,
he's in the front group, and he is obviously on fairly good form.
Yes,
he's in that breakaway. No, he's going all right. We have to remember this is the start of the season. Ben is no longer a young lad anymore. He's an old man now. Sorry, Ben. But yeah, he's obviously in good form. I think he's getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, he's been there all week helping his team. I was saying that this route for me today and the way it is, this might surprise us with who the winner is. I think we're focusing on those sort of 3 guys again, expecting them to really shine. But to me, this course is more of the course that's going to suit the likes of Brian Coquard, the likes of Alberto Bettiol again, Michael Matthews even. We shall see towards the end, but as I said, if this is more controlled than chaotic, that will definitely suit the likes of the more sprintery, punchy riders like I've just mentioned, rather than the pure climbers.
Well, these are the final 60 kilometres of this year's whole race. We're kind of halfway through the stage, aren't we? So, folks at home, if you want to get involved, why don't you ping us your predictions for this stage? Because I'll agree with Adam, it is looking much more open now than maybe we've been billing this to be. We have a breakaway, which is coming back, but has been out there quite a while right now, and we still have the likes of even Caleb Ewan right there at the back there, who potentially could be sprinting things out. I do like your talk, Adam, of Alberto Bettiol. That's a very good shout. We have been talking about this as being a kind of classics-inspired stage, and that's what Stuart O'Grady was hoping for, to have a classic-style stage on the final day. And, of course, Alberto Bettiol is perfectly suited to that, and he showed just how well he was riding yesterday. Could you imagine if Brian Coquard got a win 2 days in a row at this level? If he's in position to, I guess watching yesterday, few would doubt about it, but he's going to not have that element perhaps of surprise. And I don't know whether it was just sheer brute force yesterday, wasn't it? But there probably was an element of surprise about it, because as you look further down that group yesterday, Michael Matthews and Caleb Ewan were marking each other very close to each other, and Coquard was so far up that when he went, nobody had a chance to react at all either. Might be a very difficult one to predict. So give us your predictions if you want to. At home, if you want to get involved, ping us your thoughts, perhaps on Twitter to Adam Blythe, at Adam Blythe89, or at Jez Cox. Let us know who you think. Perhaps it's a name we've not mentioned so far that you've been watching. A lot of you have had your eyes on this race around the world this week. Who's in here that maybe we've not spotted the form of? Who's looked like they've come into this race? I was going to say having had a good winter, but it's January. I'm talking about the European winter, of course. This will be a tasty fillet of useful racing for most of these riders who will be going in a week's time in the next World Tour race, which is the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race next Sunday. What do you think they'll do in between, Adam, bearing in mind that most of these riders are staying here for that next World Tour race? I mean, how many of them will need... How much time would you be having off in between? A day or so of recovery? Is it then just a case of continuing with training, or what?
They will have a flight the next day up to Melbourne, so that'll be a day off, and then they'll get settled in, just do a steady little cafe ride the next day, maybe 3-4 hours the day after, and then there's a criterium in Melbourne. I don't know if that's still on or not, but generally I remember when we did that criterium, when we rode out there, it was like 120k or something. Then we did the criterium in the evening, and that was one of the hottest races I've ever done. It was like 46 degrees, brutal. And then, yeah, they'll do that coffee ride and then pretty much straight into the Cadel Evans Road Race. So there's not a lot of rest, really. One, maybe if they've got time, depending on when the flight is, they'll be able to ride in the morning. But you have to remember that mechanics have to pack everything up to take on a flight.
Of course, this is another of the reasons why the prologue for this race didn't have time trial bikes, because you imagine, I'm presuming, if the teams are travelling there, they'd have to take all their equipment with them, and they've got to either leave the time trial bikes somewhere and then collect them before they disappear off to the next country they're going to, or take them with them. And it would be rather annoying having a whole load of time trial bikes hanging around. So I'm quite a fan, actually, Adam, of road bike time trials, and I don't just mean prologues either. It'd be quite nice to see more time trials. Of course, when we have mountain time trials, quite often we'll see riders on drop handlebar road bikes, but I quite like it. It's growing. I don't know how much it's growing around the world, but it is gradually growing in the United Kingdom, actually, where time trialling has always been a really big, strong part of the British cycling scene. And they have a new category here now, which is growing in popularity, of just simple road bike time trials. No time trial bars allowed, no disc wheels, I don't even think you're allowed to wear an aero helmet either, and it's becoming really popular with riders who are kind of crossing across into competitive sport, having come from riding sportifs and that kind of thing. Oh, hello.
Really? What's your thing you like about it the most?
I like
the road bike.
I just think it's really, apart from anything else, I just think it makes the sport more accessible. I think particularly for riders who are nervous about getting involved with competitive cycling in a big bunch, if they're doing the majority of their riding out with their mates or out by themselves maybe, or maybe on a road bike on an indoor trainer and what have you, it makes sense then that if they're going to test themselves, I'm very old school, as you know, I would always rather see people doing it outdoors, much as I love indoor racing and Zwift and stuff. But if they can go and ride a time trial, as opposed to riding a sportif or a challenge ride of some kind on their standard road bike and not having to make it all specialist either with a time trial position, then it's kind of elemental bike racing. Who's the fastest between this point and that? Not necessarily who's the most aero, but and how much can you then improve your time, say week on week, if it's a weekly series, something like that. I don't know, I quite like it. It's got to help make our sport a little bit more accessible at the competitive end, surely.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that the argument is with that is that it's business, they're selling bikes at the end of the day, and if they can sell time trial bikes as well as road bikes and people are willing to buy it, that's more business for them. And I think time trial bikes for me, and generally road bikes as well, is I want to see the bikes, like the Lotus bike, come back into it, really tear up the rule book and let the bike manufacturers really see what they can do and see how aero they can make a bike. We've got Formula One where it's down to seconds, in their qualifying. I think it should be the same within cycling. Let these bike manufacturers go all in, really push the boundaries of what is doable or not within a bike, because at the minute the UCI holds that back, and that's why we're seeing positions changing constantly, handlebars being made constantly. It was only 4 years ago where the sort of 3D aero handlebar got made. So everything is around how quickly you can make yourself on a time trial bike or a road bike, especially as well, with this getting much power out. But within that, I think the bike manufacturers are held back quite a bit within the UCI rules as well.
Yeah, it is quite ridiculous. If you're fairly new to watching our sport, you might not realise that we actually had the bikes of the future 15 years ago.
Yeah,
now
literally.
we literally did. If you look back to the time trial bikes of the 1990s, classic example would be the Pinarello Espada, which is literally, but it is the bike of the future. At the time, it's just it looks so much more advanced than anything we have now. Triathlon, thankfully, is a little bit more, quite a bit more relaxed in terms of bike rules. If you've not watched any long-distance Ironman triathlon racing, folks at home, in the last few years, if you have a look at some, you will be seeing some more futuristic-looking bicycles with quite different frame profiling and a far more relaxed set of rules about section sizes of tubes and what have you. But it's still a fairly... as Adam's talking about selling bicycles, it's a pretty niche market at the very high end, sort of elite end of time trial bikes for triathlons, I should say. But it is useful still to see some advancements in that area. Yeah, maybe we've seen a relaxing of the 3-to-1 ratio rule about tubing on road bikes this year in the latest UCI rules. So maybe there's room for a little bit of relaxing.
Road bikes have come along a lot. I'll give them that.
Where do you stand, Adam? And I haven't asked you this yet. I don't know what you're going to say because you're
seated.
A lot younger than me. No, come on. Where do you stand on electronic gears?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, right, so I knew you'd say that. And I get it, right? Whenever I've tried them, I always think, that's cool, great. However, I can't recall a moment in the last few years... Well, you don't see it anymore, do you? But I can't recall a moment in the last few years where I've seen a rider standing next to their bike, kicking it with cables attached to their derailleurs. However, I've seen it regularly with electronic gears going into either crash mode or just failing completely and being stuck in a gear. And my problem is, from watching racing, whether it's pro racing, amateur racing, and I've been out with plenty of riders myself whose battery's packed up or the thing has just got stuck in one gear, and it's only ever happens with electronic gears. To my mind, if that is still happening on our TV screens, and I can think of one particular race with, I can't think where it was now, Filippo Ganna jumping off and basically kicking his rear mech as hard as he can to try and get it moving. To my mind, when that still happens, it's still not ready. I wouldn't want that.
Oh, come on, it's more than ready. Don't forget, when you go out on the bike, you're not in a peloton. You haven't got 120 riders an inch off your back wheel, a centimetre off your rear mech. It takes the touch of a tyre from behind going into a corner, and that might go into crash mode. Crash mode is there for the consumer. It's not for the professionals to get that advantage from. They have to sell this equipment. Once again, everything within cycling here, each rider, you can go buy every single bit of kit they're using, from the helmets, the socks, the shoes, the gloves, the wheels, the components, everything. And if you're going to spend a large amount of money on a bike and you do come off, you want to be able to use it the next day. So if the crash mode's not there, you could break it even further, then you'll have to buy a new group set, whatever it might be. So for the things like that, to me, they need it in there to be able to sell more, because if they didn't have it, it's like having a warranty on a car. You wouldn't go and buy it probably just because, oh, there's not a warranty with this, so this could pack up tomorrow and I wouldn't be covered. No, of course you wouldn't be. You wouldn't buy that car. So I think it's the same for bikes as well.
One thing that is good that seems to have eased, and we're going a little bit off the racing topic at the moment, but talking about bike tech, is the movement of bicycle componentry just around the market globally in general. The last couple of years have been really difficult to get hold of even just basic componentry as well, particularly for road bikes, and it seems to have just eased a little bit now this year. Talking of bike advancement, by the way, we're looking at that new Bianchi bike that Mathis Lebert of Arkea Samsic is riding at the front. Let's not forget, that is a bike. Do you remember, Adam? It had those kind of wind deflecting, I don't know whether they're rubber or plastic, well, I don't know what you call them, blades either side of the head tube that then had to be removed. The UCI banned them, and now it has these kind of rubber plugs that go either side of the head tube. So the pros have to take the blades out, and amateur riders are allowed to put the blades back in to have their wind beautifully deflected around the head tube. Not entirely sure how much difference it makes. It does look cool, though.
Yeah.
That's a long string, but it's still roughly the same gap, 37 seconds for Bahrain Victorious. What are they hoping is going to happen then, Adam? If they're so let's say Bahrain Victorious bring the breakaway back, what do they do then?
Then chaos would start.
That's what I mean. I don't understand it. I can't really.
We have to remember there is 3-4 riders riding on the front, including the 2 from Soudal Quickstep. They are up against 13 riders in that breakaway. So even though they are bringing it back, they're riding to control it, maybe bring it back, we're not too sure. It's not going to be an easy breakaway to bring back. That's the main issue, with so many riders up in the front, all riding very, very well together indeed. They're not going to have it that easy of just being able to claw it back. Or maybe they're just setting a tempo that is a little bit harder, maybe. But when you said it's all strung out, it is strung out, but I dare to say it's not majorly difficult at the minute. It's just on the limit of it's hurting the legs. People are finding it difficult, but it could be a lot harder, I think.
So this is Mount Lofty proper, of course. Big crowd out on a Sunday afternoon in South Australia, coming out to enjoy the premier bike race in Australia, as it has been since the start of its inception, way back in 1999. And Drisners and Caleb Ewan right at the back. I put the feelers out on socials for you guys to tell us who you think might win today. We've had a few predictions come in. Lime Pickle 12 on Twitter thinks Ethan Hayter for the win. I think we've been saying that all week, Adam, haven't we? Even you're not saying it today, which is a bad sign.
Yeah, he's got the form, definitely. Ethan's got the form, but it's just the positioning that I worry about with Ethan. It will be easier for him today to move up because it's on a climb. But yeah, I do hope he does. He's a fantastic rider, and I really do hope he does. But with how he's been so far, and in terms of the positioning, this would be the easiest day for him to get into position on a climb. But it's just how much he paces himself up the climb. He's very good at staying in that his zone almost, where he doesn't go into the red and he knows the effort he's got to do. But yeah, this is me speaking about what I can see and how I think it's happening. But Ethan's one of these riders, when he's absolutely full gas, his position doesn't change. He's very stable on the bike, he's rock steady, so when he's pushing 600-700 watts, he looks the same when he's doing 100 watts, so it's hard to know if he's on the limit or not. But yeah, I agree with your line, Pickle. Be great to see him win.
What did you call me? Oh, sorry. I've got you. That's the feed zone, and I think some of the riders there might have been picking up little coolers to put down the back of their jerseys, if I'm not mistaken. I saw one or two of them grabbing them. Maybe it is that much warmer than I'd realised. This is the peloton coming through the same feed zone. Also, lots of fluids being picked up with 51.9k to go. That's through the line. No classification on the finish line that time, and they're into that descent. And I do like this descent because it is very fast and swooping down through the gully and down, of course, to Uridler, where we're going to see the next and the final one of our sprint points. The thing is, the peloton is not going to catch them on that descent. So while the DJ plays from the mini caravan at the side of the road, this leading group of 13 are going to be sorting out 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds between them, which won't be that much help to any of them. Let me remind people at home, Victor Lafay is the best placed in our leading group on 5 minutes and 18. And I'm trying to think, Adam, have they actually broken a minute's lead yet at any point? I don't think they did. It's never been more than about 48, 50 seconds.
Yeah, it has not. I think the max minute speed is 49 seconds, so it's been consistent today. So it's quite been happy to let this gap go, which is the last day, of course. And on a course like this, as we mentioned, it's hard to get a real... It would be easy to get a real big gap, but also with it being so fast down the hills, they've got that long climb up to Mount Lofty, the final part being the categorised, but roughly around 8k of climbing, and the rest of it little lumps here and there, but with a lot of fast downhills, as we can see. So it's difficult to get a huge gap on a course like this.
Just spotted the little caution sign at the side of the road there, and of course the flag, the marshal waving the flag, because you would not want to go over the edge of that. There's no crash barrier, thankfully. I've just said the C word anyway, and there's been, I don't think we've seen any of that so far today, because if you weren't with us for stage 1, my gosh, it was one of the most nervous opening stages, particularly of the Santos Tour Down Under, that we can remember for a long time. It was particularly nervous, and of course these things are catching. Once you get 1 or 2 crashes, the nerves goes up. Nobody wants to crash early on, and in the opening of this race we had broken collarbones, we had Robert Hessink with a broken pelvis, and a lot of the crashes were happening at the side of the road, where the road itself sort of dissipates into light gravel. Thankfully, it's been a better end to the race, as everything seems to have settled a little bit as well. But very, very nervous opening stages on that first stage. It was won by Phil Bauhaus back on Wednesday in the Barossa region. They are now back on the descent down to Summertown and Uradler. We have just about 4k to go until, slightly less than that, 3.5k to go until that sprint point. It very much looks now like Michael Matthews will be taking that blue jersey with him, but on the line there are, of course, 30 points for the win. So if Caleb Ewan were to win, and he is still hanging around the back end of that peloton, if Caleb Ewan were to win the uphill finish on top of Mount Lofty, then he would definitely take over the jersey, unless Matthews is, oh dear, that's getting slightly beyond my maths, but 30 points on the line. I have to say, Adam, I think the sprints jersey could do with having, because they've combined, in some races we have a points jersey competition, don't we, where it's the most consistent finisher, basically, and then there's a sprints jersey for the sprint points out on the course. Because they've combined them here, I can't help but think, I often think this, that it's swayed way too much in the direction of the finish. If you look at the overall general classification for that blue Zip Track sprints jersey, it's mainly made up of people who've won stages, unless you've been incredibly consistent at the finishes as well. 30 points for a win, and only 3 points at any of the sprint points out on the course. Seems a bit...
It's generally how it always, for the Tour de France, it's similar though. For the Grand Tours, you always get more points at the finish because it's harder to get those points. But if you look how close it is, generally in terms of the riders up there with the points, fighting for that points jersey, it's quite close, which is a good thing, really. It's I think if it was done equally throughout the whole race, it would be a lot closer, but you don't get the victory of, you don't get the joy of wearing that jersey for all that. Yes, Michael Matthews, 58 points, Caleb Ewan, 47 points. How much is it for the win across the line? 30 points in second place is?
It goes, let me see now. Oh, it's 30 down to 1 for the first 15. I think second might be 25.
Yeah, so Michael Matthews would probably have to finish outside the top 10 for that to happen, which if Caleb's there, Michael Matthews would probably finish within the top 10, I'd say.
So we're actually now into the penultimate lap of our big circuit on the final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under. I will roll through for you now the riders who are in the breakaway. They went clear on the last lap and have hovered around pretty much 40 seconds or there or thereabouts, somewhere between 30 and 40 seconds the whole time. The chase has been being led by Bahrain Victorious, the team of Pello Bilbao, who sits on second place in the general classification, third place I should say. He's on exactly the same time as Simon Yates. Let me roll through who we have. Right at the back here in the colours of Alpecin de Koning is Sam Gaze, the Kiwi rider. And leading on the front right now, one of the two DSM riders, Chris Hamilton and Matthew Dinham, both Australian, of course. The rider just on in front of him, the Cofidis rider, is Francois Bidart, second from the back. Just in front of him is Johan Jacobs, the Swiss man in the colours of the Spanish team Movistar. And then working our up the group from behind them as we get closer to this sprint. We'll just wait for the sprint point first, and I'll take you through the rest of it just to see what happens. Michael Hepburn, I think, is going to lead through the sprint point. There we go. So Michael Hepburn, that's the next rider to introduce to you. Mathis Lebert was the Frenchman who was alongside him. The Bora Hansgrohe rider is Marco Haller. The Trek Segafredo rider is Marc Brustenga, the Spaniard. I think that's everyone. Victor Lafay, the Frenchman, with Cofidis on his back there, and the number 55. The number 14 is Paul Lapierre, the other Frenchman, one of four in this breakaway for the Agi Désert Citroën team. And here is the front of our peloton being led by Bahrain Victorious. And there goes the Oka leader's jersey. Jay Vine, comfortable as he has been all day, usually around about 10th, 12th back from the front. And with UAE Team Emirates stripy blue and white magpie jerseys all around him. As yet, everything going to plan for the race leader. Seeing a replay of that. Michael Hepburn just rolling through in the colours of the Australian team, Jayco Alula. Al-Ula, as I mentioned previously, of course, a new sponsor for the Jayco team this year, but a tourist region in Saudi Arabia that's now quite heavily involved in cycling, and it was the focal point of last year's Saudi Tour, which is coming up in just a few weeks. It's now called the Tour of Saudi Arabia, so it's looking to spread its wings a little bit more, but Al-Ula is still playing a really key part in that. I will be on the mic for the Tour of Saudi Arabia this year, along with Brian Smith, and I believe you're involved as well, Adam. I don't know if it's been announced at all yet, but I know you're...
Yeah, I'm out there again. I'm having a holiday.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You didn't get a ride then?
A ride? God, those days are long gone. No, I'm just, Discovery are paying me to go out there and just chill out for a little bit.
Very
It's
nice.
Lovely, thanks.
Well, they did say they wanted to get rid of you. They're getting rid of you. Dispatch you to the desert.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I am joking, of course. Hopefully you're going to be giving us some insight down on the ground, in amongst the dust and sand.
You really don't understand. I'm going on holiday there.
Don't worry, I've got your phone number. Brian and I'll be calling you. I'm going to ring you probably most stages. Just get a bit of an insight what's going on. I'll be disturbing you. His phone's turned off. That's strange. There we go. This is Yannick Steimler going off the back to try and drench himself. Adam, you said it. It is a lot hotter today. Jersey fully unzipped, and Steimler just pouring over himself. I don't know whether he's getting dropped or he's just choosing a moment to do that.
Yeah, he's getting dropped.
Well, there we go.
He's getting dropped. I think he might get back on with a few bidons, but he's been doing a lot of work on the front. He's done a lap or two trying to bring these 13 riders back, and that just shows how hard it is riding on the front. We mentioned that why are they not bringing this gap down? What's their plan right now? The plan is to try and bring them back, but I just think 13 of them all rolling through together, and with it being a lot of downhill on this course, not a lot of uphill, and the uphill's not the most difficult uphill in the world, that it's going to be difficult to bring time back on these guys. So yeah, it is baking hot out there, and there won't be a lot of breeze. They're always covered by the trees. They're always in and out of little gullies and valleys, so it's going to be even hotter. Road temp would be hot.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sticky. The aerodynamicists amongst you at home can do your pigeon mathematics on whether chopping up your number, dare I say it slightly illegally, according to the rules, Ethan Hayter's done it, or at least someone's done it for him. Perhaps it may not have been him, right at the back here with the number 2 on. You can see it has furry edges to it. So there's the aerodynamicist's question for you. Is it better to have a smaller number that has hairy edges, or if you look at Jared Drisner's, I think it is, just in front of him, to keep the whole number pinned on old school, like something out of the late 80s, but have nice, smooth, sharp edges to your number? There probably isn't an answer.
There isn't an answer, and you can't cut your numbers, but you can fold them.
Well, that's definitely, I would say that's been cut. It's got sort of hairy edges to it. But there we go. I don't, as I say, I don't like to point out things that might get people into trouble, but it would appear that's what's
surprising that, Jez, because you've literally just done exactly that.
I mean, I was just saying what I see. There were no implications attached to it. It's just an observation of a visual.
Ethan Hayter disqualified from the race thanks to Jez Cox because he pointed out that he's cut his numbers.
It's the last day. It's the last day.
Makes no difference at all. Cutting numbers is just what I can understand when they cut them ridiculously small, but if you've got a very narrow waist and you cut a centimetre of number off, it ain't going to make the slightest bit of difference. People have been doing it for years, and they will carry on doing it for years.
Absolutely right. If you weren't with us at the beginning of the week, I was explaining why we've got a much more old school looking set of numbers as we look at the backs of the riders here, because those aero pockets, the kind of mesh style aero pockets we were seeing cropping up last year, that were a nightmare for us because very often they were the same colour as the skin suit. We couldn't read the numbers through them. It was terrible in actual fact. And that's one of the reasons why they've been outlawed this year, in actual fact, is just visibility of numbers. Those numbers there are all nice and clear, but the market for safety pins in amongst carers and soigneurs and teams now must have gone right through the roof, because they're back with a bang.
Yeah, it's one thing in cycling that I think will never get replaced.
Just seen Marco Haller giving his quad a stretch out. It's been a relatively crampy week this as well, hasn't it, Adam? We think of course, Alberto Bettiol's double leg cramp as we saw him lose the Oka Leaders jersey on the stage to Victor Harbour. But we've seen some other riders suffering a bit of cramp during this race as well. I wonder whether that's, I guess the heat has increased, hasn't it, and the need to stay hydrated and get the minerals in. But could that be an early season thing, maybe? Although I know you've told me already there's no such thing as a season anymore. The riders are smashing it all year round. Yeah,
they are smashing it all year round. I mean, probably have 2.5, 3 weeks fully off the bike now, where it used to be 5, 6 weeks before. I remember my first, there's Steinle, who's getting back on. Look, come back with some bottles and he's railing it. Go on, boy. Yeah, I don't think it would be that. It just might be the heat, the intensity, the efforts they have to make. You can't replicate a race in training. You can do intensity and enduring efforts, but sometimes during your first race of the season, just not quite being used to the accelerations, the ups and downs, the sprinting over hills, it can catch up with you. And then there's the obvious of minerals, salts, etc., which obviously have an effect on that as well. And it's probably a mixture of all.
That was one of my questions I meant to ask you yesterday in the build-up to the sprint, but it was all a little bit too a little bit too hectic. But I'll ask you it now, Adam, because I'm in. Oh, hello.
Oh, here we go.
Little gaps opening up in our group of 13 at the front. I wonder whether they sense that with the gap getting a little bit closer to 30 seconds, there might be a few sandbaggers in here. Maybe I haven't yet spotted who it is, but maybe there's one or two in there who aren't coming through now. They've been out there quite a long way.
Yeah, Johan Jacobs is looking to push on a little bit. There's this little downhill section here. This gap's still 35 seconds. I think the rise, you know, you get used to the course as well. Once you do it a few times, you can learn where you can save energy. You can learn where it's pointless coming through and just ultimately wasting your energy as well. And the riders will pick up on that. The clever ones will anyway.
Just getting some intel from some of our viewers, I think some of them who are out there as well, that the temperatures around Mount Lofty are around about 31 degrees as well, so it's even a little bit hotter than we thought. This is Geraint Thomas descending at speed, one hand on the bars, the other... Oh, sorry, it's not... Yes, Geraint Thomas just made... Do you know what? I'm still getting used to those glasses, Adam, as well. All those years of him being in the racing jackets, the Oakley racing jackets. Ineos Grenadiers have a new sunglass sponsor this year in the shape of Sun God, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, just getting used to seeing them again. So G back there grabbing, I think, one bottle by the looks of it, and getting a little bit of advice from the team car too. Lot of fluid being taken on today.
Oh, Shane, you missed that, mate.
He's got something down his back as well, so I'm guessing these might be little chunks of ice wrapped up in what, like stockings, effectively, that the riders are putting down the back of their neck. Would that be right, Adam?
Yep, exactly right. It's just just ice cubes in stockings, basically, in a women's tight. It's the lightest way possible, and when the ice melts, you don't feel it at all. It's just when you forget about it, take your top off after, and a load of women's tights drop out.
There's some things that don't change in cycling, aren't there, as well? It's like a wonderfully old school, that. Ladies tights and nappy pins. Wonderful. In the age of 3D printed carbon refinery, it was still talking about things like that. As you say, certain things just work.
Yeah, that and the wheel.
2 wheels.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure there's plenty of engineers trying to work their way around that one as well. You can see the heat haze coming off the road here as Marco Haller has gone back to the front to do his bit, the Austrian. Actually, probably quite familiar Austrian terrain. I can think of lots of parts of Austria that are profiled much like this Mount Lofty circuit, constantly up and down, forested climbs and fast twisty descents, not quite as mountainous, but as I say, Lofty itself today does climb up to the lofty height of 710 metres, which is pretty high for this part of the Adelaide Hills. Mathis Lebert makes his way through. Matthew Dinham, the Australian for Team DSM. Don't know whether it's just me, Adam, but the organisation of this group doesn't look anywhere near as slick as it was either.
Yeah, I think it is, you know. I think the way they are now, they're going downhill, they're all sharing the workload still, and it's not like there's one person sat on the back in particular. There's a lot of different riders in here. There's faster riders, there's riders that can climb better, and they're all still working well together. You know, it's not one rider who's better at climbing is trying to shoot off the front to try and put the other riders really under pressure. They're all riding, I'm going to say within each other, but, you know, they're riding to everyone's capabilities, so they're all comfortable, so they can all help each other still. It's, in terms of the rider just gone back there, 152, Matthias Libere, he's gone back, and normally if someone's trying to miss a turn, they just let him in just in front of him to try and force him through a bit, but I've not seen much of that. Here we go, stage 1 winner, yes. Phil Bauhaus on the front, 34 seconds, it is coming down now, and we are coming to the bell this time. The last lap, not far away.
This is an intense dig by Bauhaus as well, and there is a powerful rider to add his bit to it as well. It's, yeah, looking back to see the damage that's being done too. I don't know whether they're getting the word from Neil Stevens to ramp it up again a little bit more.
Yeah, this is probably the plan all along, you know, we need to set the tempo, boys, we need to get out there. Then coming into that last lap, the last 2 climbs up Mount Lofty, we really need to push on and start to make it difficult, regardless of how far the breakaway is or isn't in front. I think if they caught them now, they'd probably still do the same thing. So this looks to be a plan that they've had from the get-go.
Yeah, they've gone through the valley bottom in Bridgewater, now climbing up in the direction of Aldgate and Stirling. Once they've gone through there, they crest through Crafters. They've got that little drop before it as well. In fact, it looks like Agi Desert Citroën as well are coming up, and a few nods of heads. They're coming up in numbers as well to add something to this. Don't forget, they've got a rider in this breakaway too, in Paul Lapierre. But he has a number of riders there, unless they're trying to get in amongst it and spoil the chase a bit. 27 seconds now. These guys will know that gap is coming down. No,
yeah,
they're joining in. Look at this, they're joining in as well. That's a strange one. What's all that about?
Ambition, I guess, with a breakaway of 13 riders. It's hard to... There's a lot of things that could happen in that break. There's so many different scenarios that might happen, and it's not set in stone that, you know, this is how it's going to be. They've got Ben O'Connor in the race, Nance Peters and Mickey Shah riding on the front, but this is only going to be a good thing. We wanted chaos, and this is going to involve a lot of chaos. Jay Vine's team there just moving up. I was trying to look where he was, but right up there at the front now, sat behind Ben O'Connor, the AG2R rider, the last one we can see in that line a bit further back.
You can see from the impetus amongst the riders, the pressure being laid on. Nance Peters doing a big turn on the front, but there's riders swelling and moving up, heads nodding and looking around to see where people are. It strikes us, it certainly strikes me looking at it, we're at a pivotal moment here. Look at the time dripping down as well. It's under 20 seconds now as well.
Yeah, Daryl Impey moving up with Chris Froome on his wheel in the middle of your screen there as well. So this will start to create stress within the peloton. A lot of riders happy about the situation and just sitting back quite relaxed. But now this has happened. Now they will feel the pace increase more. That it's happening, and now the stress will come. The teams will get together. We need to get to the front more. When that starts to happen, the pace increases even more as well. And let's not forget, these guys will get the update from behind. They'll get on the radio, OK, guys, Bahrain have started to get on the gas, AG2R are helping them, and this is when we'll start to see riders suffer, and that coherence between the riders, that will start to disappear. We'll see the climbers wanting to push on more on the climb. The likes of Marco Haller, maybe Ben Swift, starting to miss turns on the climb because they won't want to ride that hard. They can't just pull turns through and through and through. So for me now, this is when in that front group, that coherence between that we've seen them do so far, they've been working great together, will start to drop ever so slightly.
Oh gosh, there's gaps in there as well. There are a couple of 2 or 3 bike length gaps in amongst our main peloton there at the front due to the pressure being laid on by Soudal Quickstep. I wonder what their game plan is today, Adam, because they've been putting 1s and 2s in this chase as well. We haven't.
It'll be this climb. This climb isn't as hard as what it's sort of called out to be. It's a hard course, but it's not hard enough. And I think for Mauro Schmidt, the form he was in, well, the form he is in, he was right up there on stage 2. Yeah, stage 2, the road stage that Rowan Dennis runs. So they're probably thinking, you know what, this climb suits you. You can get over this. You can try and get some bonus points. You can try and win the stage, get a stage win for the team.
You notice, folks at home there, Adam having to check whether it was stage 2, thinking about this is a little conversation we've had on and off air, and it's kind of, I think Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, we're of the same thinking that when you have a prologue and then you say stage 1 afterwards, it becomes very confusing as well. Well, haven't we already had a stage? I'm certainly one for saying prologue and then stage 2. Otherwise, you have to call it road stage 1. It is a bit confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
6-day race, and this is stage 5. Of course it's not, it's the 6th stage of this race.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
Now it's going to kick off, isn't it? This is an opportunity to really light the touch paper on the last lap too, because we're getting ever closer to the final time up Mount Lofty. That'll be a King of the Mountains point, let me point out as well. So start looking out for Mikel Honoré, because if this comes back together, there's a chance here. He's got to be very careful that Jay Vine doesn't go through there and score points ahead of him, because he could lose that white and green polka dot jersey. All of a sudden, things got very interesting. Not that they've been boring for the last few laps, but we've got a group of 13 riders, none of whom are a GC threat, and he'd been looking so good, Caleb Ewan. The jersey is now fully unzipped and he's just getting distanced. There
Still is looking good. Look great, Mike.
Right, so we think Caleb Ewan is now out of the reckoning. And that very, very hard drive we saw being led by Phil Bauhaus of Bahrain Victorious, bringing this gap right back. There was a bit of, what should we call it, words being said between Bahrain Victorious team riders and Agides Citroën. It looked to me like they were effectively saying, look, just leave it to us, don't get involved. They are getting involved again, though, Ben O'Connor's team. And they're back involved with this chase down. I think Bahrain Victorious were quite happy to do it themselves. They appeared to be, one or two of their riders, just trying to get the Agides Citroën team riders to get out of the way so they can get on with it. But the boys in white and brown do want to get involved, despite, as I say, the fact that they have Paul Lapierre up here. Now, he's one of their best climbers as well, the Frenchman. He's in the breakaway here, about third rider from the back there, as we watch Victor Lafay again doing a desperate turn at the front to try and keep them clear. But it is looking doomed at this stage for this big group of 13 riders who've been the biggest breakaway numbers-wise in this race. They've never had more than about 45 seconds, though, at the very, very most, while Bahrain Victorious have been pegging it. Let me remind you, this is the team of Pello Bilbao, who sits in third place, or equal second place, Adam and I like to call it, because he's 15 seconds off the lead of our race leader, Jay Vine, who wears that ochre leader's jersey. He has not shown a single sliver of weakness in this race, Jay Vine, and neither his team. He's always seemed to be sat in the sweet spot of that peloton that's chasing down this leading group, now led by Timo Russen, the Dutchman of Jumbo-Visma. Look just beyond them, though, for the front of that peloton. They're not closing it, and if anything, it's going out ever so slightly again, Adam.
Yeah, as we said, the riders in this breakaway, they've been working well together. There's 13 of them that have all been sharing the workload. They've had the news, they've seen them behind, so they've said, right guys, we need to push on. You can see Ben Swift rolling through, one of the faster men within this group. I don't think it'll be a little bit hard for Ben today with the riders within there, but you can tell it's getting harder now, look, because the riders are starting to sit on behind. Michael Hepburn in there, the Jaco Ayula rider, he'll start to sit on because he'll think, I can help Simon Yates. Even if I can do it for a K and a half, I can definitely help him still.
Got about 4 or 5k to go until the top of Mount Lofty and the final mountains point of the whole Santos Tour Down Under. It is a first cat climb. Let me remind you again, that means there are 10, 6, 4, 2 and 1 points available, and only 1 point separates Mikel Honoré from Jay Vine. The question is, are they going to catch them? If they don't catch the breakaway and they go to that mountains point, then it's all over, and Mikel Honoré will take that jersey on the final podium today. Of course, Jay Vine, I suspect, dare I say it, and it sounds a bit disrespectful to the mountains jersey, couldn't care less about the King of the Mountains points, but racing situations might mean he's further up. Should they catch this group? All 13 of them still there. No one's been dropped from that group, despite the pressure that they've been under. They've been working well together as well.
Jay Vine's team, let's not forget, has had a relatively easy day today as well. They've not had to do any work on the front, and when they have been at the front, they've gone, not slowly, but they've let the gap drift out. Don't forget, if they were in control of this race today and that amount of riders went up the road, brilliant. All the bonus seconds are swept up. I have nothing to worry about, really. The sprinters aren't going to be involved, so if the seconds are available, they're not going to be enough to make any difference to the GC. So UAE in a whole have had a good day so far, and I'm sure they'll have all the team there ready and around Jay, just in case.
These are the final 30 kilometres of the whole Tour Down Under for this year. The opening race in the men's UCI World Tour. We're kicking it off with a 6-day stage race and the return of the Santos Tour Down Under after 2 years out. Jay Viner's looked the best rider in the race every time the pressure's been on the climbs, as I say, and we've said he's really put no foot wrong so far, and as Adam's just pointed out, he's had a relatively easy day, sitting on the couch that is his super strong team, protecting him, keeping him in good position, while this group of 13 riders has been dangling out there around the Mount Lofty circuit. We're about to come into the final lap of 4, 27 kilometres that final lap, of course, down into the valley in Bridgewater and then climbing back up to the top of Mount Lofty for what I suspect will be a very different final ascent of that climb. Every time we've seen it being taken, it's been pretty steady. The last time up it, particularly the classified point, as we watch Chris Froome dropping back through the cars, the last climb of it, and bear in mind this is the penultimate one, I think is going to be very different indeed. There's quite a lot of riders that could be in contention with things at the front end. And a lot of riders, of course, on the last stage have nothing to hold back for, nothing to save themselves for. It could be an electric final ascent of this climb, but they've got to catch them first.
Yeah, they do. It could be an electric second to final climb up here, this time up.
Yeah, 2 kilometres, 2.29 kilometres to the top.
Yeah, they're reaching the steeper slopes now. The last 1.5k, 6.5% average gradient, with the top final 500 metres ramping up to around 8-9%. So the top part being the hardest part.
And one of the things I've been pleased with watching the race this week, Adam, and you've done this race 3 times. The roads look in a good. I think it's maybe because I'm talking about my recent experiences of riding. I've been on the English roads where this winter the potholes have been terrible. It's a lovely road surface that we're watching. Most of the time it's looked pretty smooth, even up here in the Adelaide Hills. We watch Victor Lafay just starting to open a little gap. He knows they're about to be caught, and I think this is his day. He's been so quiet all week, and it does look like Marco Haller's going to try and jump across to Lafay.
Yeah, I think that breakaway had sort of gone, we're going to get caught, we're going to get caught. Victor Lafay wanting to get on that podium, most aggressive rider, try and get up there, and Marco Haller looking to join him as well, but the other riders are coming still. They've still not caught them just yet.
Very good rider, of course, Victor Lafay. I mentioned that Giro stage win. He also took a brilliant win in last year's Arctic Race of Norway. I had the pleasure of watching him ride to that. He's a great all-rounder. He's a good climber, but he's also got a pretty fast finish too. Those 2 wins, by the way, are the only 2 wins of his pro career, but pretty distinctive. A Giro stage and a stage of that race which continues to grow in prominence and following the Arctic Race of Norway.
This is getting harder and harder and harder. I can only imagine if this race was another lap, what difference it might make.
I think that's what Stuart O'Grady was hoping for. If the whole race had just been building towards this climb as it had done the corkscrew, it wouldn't have had anywhere near the effect you might have hoped. But look at that. Right, we might be about to see a final lap which is completely different to everything else we've seen in the stage so far. These are the riders still remaining from the breakaway, but the back end of the breakaway, unless I'm mistaken looking at him, is being caught right now.
I think for this final lap, it might sound harsh this, but I think anyone that goes on the attack on this final lap that is up there on not even on general classification, anyone that's looking to get the stage win today that attacked early, it's going to be a ever so slight waste of energy, I feel. A lot of downhill, which is not a very long downhill. It's only about 7k's long, really, with a couple of little kickers in between it. I think if they were to go on the attack, they're going to get caught, because it's not hard enough. Luke Plapp on the front now for Ineos Grenadiers. So Ineos finally showing their cards. We heard from Magnus Sheffield yesterday. Got a few tricks up the sleeve still that they want to show, and this might be it. The final lap really pushing on.
Yeah, I don't think that's Magnus. Well, it's not Magnus Sheffield behind him, because Magnus Sheffield is still wearing that jersey of the best young rider. I think he's got Kim Heiduck behind him as well. Kim Heiduck in good sprinting form. I think that might be him. Unless it's Ethan Hayter. Looking down at the number, Adam, can you see?
Hayter. It's not Hayter, it's Kim Heiduck.
Yeah, yeah. So the German youngster on the wheel of the Australian youngster who just happens to now be a double national champion.
It is very odd what Matthew Dinham's doing there, just coming alongside him and saying, oh no, he's chatting to him. I thought he was just, I don't know what he was.
Yeah, I think Plapp's shaking his head a little bit there as well. Dinham's just been caught, and he seems intent on staying at the front. Plapp keeps looking across. He's giving him a push to get him back in there.
Yeah, I don't know why he's doing this. He's just getting in the way. Well, not getting in the way, but he's just interrupting proceedings. Anyway, that's Platchdodge on Heiduck on the front now.
This is them coming to the line now as well. Yeah, you're right. Plapp's swung off.
That is a very reduced group now as well. Strung out massively, but whittled down quite a lot there. Simon Yates sat third wheel. He's got Chris Harper, his teammates, just sat in front of him. Harper has had a couple of crashes so far. Yesterday we heard an interview, not damaged himself too bad and seemed in good spirits.
So 1K to the very top. And now all back together. Now we start to see the blue and white of Jaco Alula. And Ben O'Connor is back fourth wheel, the Tour Aussie for Agi Desert Citroën team. Simon Yates is third wheel. There's the Oka Leaders jersey, Jay Vine. Hang on, he looks a little bit twitchy, Jay Vine. I think we're going to see an attack before we get to the line, Adam. It's really twitchy in there. I might be wrong. The Oka jersey's about fourth or fifth. No?
I think he was just trying to move up there and he got caught on the wrong side of the wheel and had to brake. Jay Vine, there is zero need for him to attack. If he attacked, he's opening himself up to danger, basically.
Let me be clear, I wasn't suggesting he was going to attack, but possibly look. I thought maybe he was moving to respond to someone else. I was wrong, though. And he's just sitting now, second wheel right now, I think, Jay Vine, just so he can make sure he can get a feed. He's got a bottle.
He won't take one today. I don't think he'll take one. He won't run the risk of doing that. He's got two teammates around him. Generally, the race leader, he is taking the sprint points over the top of the cake. That's been secure by the looks of things.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go, look, taking the sprint points. But yeah, generally the leaders, they'll have someone come and bring them a bottle. That's the joy of being a leader, that you can have someone do that for you. And then
where is Mikel Honoré?
Yeah, Luke Plapp's going to take the attack. Harper chasing him.
I was just wondering whether Mikel Honoré's not in there, because actually if he does allow those points to go somewhere else, he's going to lose the jersey. Plapp goes through. So that's the first classified mountains point. No, you're right, I don't think he is. Plapp has gone through there and taken quite a lot of points. That will help him to move up. In fact, Plapp, with that, will move up into... I don't think if he scored any other points at the first one. He certainly moved up into second in the King of the Mountains. I'll have to check that. He may have even got level with Mikel Honoré with that. It's a deliberate move by Luke Plapp, definitely. Because that's a first category climb, Mount Lofty. He's up into second, either joint first or second with that, Luke Plapp. I thought he'd swung off, Adam. I thought he'd swung off and was dropping back, but none of that. He's come back to the front and made sure very decisively that he took maximum points. The last classified mountain climb of this Santos Tour Down Under. And this is the final lap right now. This is a group that are off the back. It has Geraint Thomas right in the middle of it. And they now, of course, have that long, twisty descent down through Summertown and Uradla, going through what was our sprint point. There's no classification point there whatsoever. Down to the valley bottom, and, of course, back round again. This is the last lap of 4. So much still yet to be decided, Adam. The stage winner as well. But those 15 seconds just swinging there between Bilbao, Yates and Vine, who's looked so solid, along with his team. There's the white jersey of the best young rider, Magnus Sheffield, who sits also just 45 seconds down. In the history of this race, though, these are still pretty big gaps. We rattled through when we started the broadcast live this morning as we were standing there what the gaps are between the last few winners. Last time out was, of course, 3 years ago now. Richie Port was the winner ahead of Diego Alisi by 25 seconds. The year before that, Daryl Impey was the winner ahead of Richie Port by 13 seconds. The year before that, Impey was again the winner over Richie Port on exactly the same time. They were split by stage finishing positions. The year before that, Richie Port was the winner ahead of Esteban Chavez, 48 seconds, which is quite a big gap in the history of this race. And then prior to that, Simon Gerrans was the winner in 2016 by 9 seconds over poor old Richie Port, another one of his second places.
Luis Leon Sanchez, a fast and furious descender. Second wheel there, someone coming over the top. I'm not trying to work out if that's maybe Max Shackman. We saw him go on the attack on the first time over Mount Lofty. Is it Shackman or is it Hindley?
We did see Hindley earlier in the stage, didn't we?
Another attack going on the right-hand side, DSM. This is what I was talking about with the parkour and how it is at the minute. You are going to have to be Superman to stay away today from this chasing group with what's on the line today at the finish, to get ahead of it and hold on up that long drag when the riders behind have got a couple of teammates with him. Jay Vine's got teammates with him. It's always good to have a go. You've got to pick the right moment with 22 Ks to go solo. It is always going to be very, very difficult indeed. You want to save that energy, try and recover as much as you can, stay hidden as much as you can, stay sheltered on the wheel so you can come into that final as fresh as possible. And if you feel like you're on the limit, you need to just give it a go just before you're on the limit if you're a long enough way out to make sure you wanted to do what you want to do. But if not, just stay in the wheel, stay as fresh as you can, just be as efficient as possible. I'm trying to find out as well if Ethan Hayter's in that group. Is that Brian Coquard in the middle there? Yes, Brian Coquard. Oh, is he there still? Just looking to see if I can see Brian, yesterday's stage winner.
51 he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is in the middle. Good spot. Ooh. Right, old danger man. Not just because of we know how fast he's uphill, but just the confidence, I guess, Adam, from yesterday. He must be on an absolute high today with nothing to lose either.
Apart from the stage.
Well, no, but you know what I mean. He's got the biggest win of his career yesterday, so it's not like there's pressure on him to get the result today.
No, there's no pressure whatsoever.
You know what I mean? He must be floating.
He'll have pressure on himself. He will have pressure on himself, knowing that he's in good form, and you want to carry it. Once you've got one win, the wins, they come in twos and threes. You can keep getting them, and he's obviously taken the confidence, as you said. Yes, 100%. Aviti's on the attack now. As you can see, as I was saying, these riders that are going on the attack, pushing on, the Bream brought back very, very quickly indeed. The nature of the road, as how it dips down on the descent here, it's quite easy to follow the wheels. Another rider from Alpecin Koenig going on the attack, a Bahrain rider following that wheel there. Ethan Hayter, I've just been informed.
Oh, yes, sorry, Adam, go on.
He's in there as well. Thank you, Anton.
There we go.
There he is, the fifth wheel.
Right. Oka Jersey is just behind him as well. Jay Vine, our race leader. Ooh, it's bubbling away the front end, isn't it? I'm not sure if Marius Meyerhoff is still away. We saw the German attack for DSM. He might have been reeled back in if he was. I didn't spot that, but their fast man
and
had a nice little
Max
dig.
Shackman. You see how the riders are using the speed from coming in the back, having a little free wheel, recovering on the wheels, and then getting onto these points where there's a nice descent and just trying to get that distance. But it's so easy to jump on the wheel at these high speeds, and if you are behind, it's so easy to look at riders where they're moving and being able to jump on the wheel. You need to try and take people by surprise, but you're in plain sight at the minute.
Rowan Dennis just covering that move as well, following Emmanuel Aviti. Looking down on that little group of GC contenders. Pello Bilbao following the back wheel of Jay Vine. We've moved back a little bit further down that group, and we see the yellow of Jumbo Visma at the front. Rowan Dennis, as I say, just tracking things. We know the kind of form he's in, Adam, today. Good
He's
stage.
active early on.
Yes, he was. Here he is on the outside with the 111 on his back on the right-hand side of our screen.
There he is in there.
Yes, he is, but that's very odd, isn't it? Because I think he's lost it. I think he's lost the jersey because
Jay Vine came across second, I think,
did he?
though, didn't he? Right on the point,
yeah, he did. So he's lost
going to
the
be
jersey.
close.
I don't understand that. I don't understand it. If Vine was second, then he's definitely lost the jersey. There was only one point between them. Honoré seemed pretty set on keeping that jersey over the last couple of days, but well, very interesting. Strange. Don't quite understand that. Tracking the Oka jersey there is Ethan Hayter.
Yeah,
Ethan
and
Hayter
not
now moving right up to the front.
many teammates with Jay Vine at the minute. He's got Hershey there on his right-hand side. He's just moving into the middle, but not many teammates with him. I think a few riders have got back on here after the top of that on the descent. A few more have regained.
That's your Radler, we've just gone through, where of course it was our Zip Track sprint point last lap. None of that anymore though. And that's Michael Storer at the back, who's had a quiet week. Not really mentioned him so far. I actually picked him out as
another attack on the front, on the left-hand side there.
Yeah.
A couple of riders trying to follow once again.
Just watching Magnus Sheffield in the middle in that white Best Young Riders jersey.
Kim Heiduck going now. Following attack, there's a couple of Shackman once again, so this is the second time he's tried.
He's very much up for it today, Matt Shackman, isn't it? He was attacking early on as well, very early on, straight after the flag had dropped. And now here he is again, still involved in the Adelaide Hills. There's a rider that I always find it very hard to categorise, and maybe I shouldn't try and categorise any riders, but he can do a bit of everything, can't he, Matt Shackman? Good climber.
Yeah. Cataneo in the background chasing him, Heiduck on his wheel, one of the EF riders. I don't know if that's Honoré that's following there. Jonas Rutsch from EF, that formidable style that's so recognisable.
Dorian Godon.
That's Leo
as well.
Hayter, I think, yeah.
Leo Hayter, right, okay.
I could be wrong. It looked like Leo Hayter. Don't quote me on it.
Shackman is rocking and rolling.
No, it's not.
I think that's the Italian Alessandro Vere as well, of the French Arkea Samsic team in the red jersey, black shorts.
Stray over the top, look. This is a good situation now for these riders coming into the final 18Ks to go. They get up this little bump and then they do drop down fast again into the bottom of the final climb Mount Lofty. But enough riders in there. The Bahrain rider there, number 32, he'll just sit and wait, Nicholas Arndt. He won't do too much contributing. They just wanted a rider in there to put pressure on UAE a little bit. But a good wealth of numbers in here that will share the workload together. We saw how quick Cataneo went past, and he's going on the attack again, look.
Yeah, Cataneo, he looks really good, doesn't he? Once he stamps on the pedals, you can see him immediately putting the pressure on everyone else into that. My gosh, that's a tight corner. Milking the apex and really kissing the very edge of the road up against that crash barrier there as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 riders clear. And this was all done under the pressure of Max Shackman attacking yet again. And they've opened up a gap quite quickly. Dorian Godon is the tall Frenchman in the white of Agi Desert Citroën at the back. Oscar Riesbeek, I think, is the Dutchman for Alpecin de Koning at the back. Dorian Godon's having a little bit of trouble closing the gap. That gap keeps cracking open. I don't know whether that's deliberate or whether he's either got a problem or suffering a bit. Godon. Up in the top 10 yesterday, wasn't he? I think he was 7th or 8th, if I remember correctly. So interesting that we are seeing, and it kind of goes with what you're saying, Adam, and what Robbie McEwen's fed back, that the climb isn't quite hard enough, that we're still seeing quite a lot of riders who are involved. Yeah, Godon was 7th yesterday. And we're talking about potentially some of yesterday's key players being key players at the end of this one, like Brian Coquard potentially as well. But they're going to have to bring back Cataneo here, who is attacking the group again. He's got some fire in those legs today. He's looked good all week. And this is his kind of terrain, isn't it?
Yeah, he's just that strong rider that can just keep going constantly. He's super, super strong. Behind it, chasing there. And I think it's Ewan Costew behind the Arkea Samsic rider, Max Shackman. I don't know if that's Chris Harper once again. No, it's not Harper. I was going to say if that's Chris Harper, he's done a cracking ride today, being in that 13-man break. And this is what Cataneo does so well. Looked like he was going to be brought back, but just within 5, 6, 7 metres, no one could quite bridge that gap to him. They're all looking around at each other, and that's when his gap starts to extend. They're still looking at each other, still waiting. I don't think the peloton might see Cataneo again, but I don't think that breakaway will.
No. Yeah, and I think there's some heavy legs in that breakaway. It might be that others get up to him, but there's a distinct difference in the amount of pressure that's being laid on by some of the riders there. I think there's some very tired legs in there. This really short stage. I don't think it's just the fact that here in England it's 3:45 in the morning, but this short stage has actually seemed quite long because it's been so much going on in there as well. It's a fascinating finale. I don't know what folks at home think who are watching this. Adam, I don't know what you think. I kind of, looking at it now, I might change my mind in the next half an hour, 40 minutes, but kind of feel like the race could have finished on Corkscrew if you'd flipped these two stages around. This could have been a fascinating mid-race stage, maybe, in the place of where the Corkscrew stage was. What do you think?
We're going to find out.
Well, we are.
We're going to find out. Corkscrew, we're just playing it on one climb, which we're going to do exactly the same thing on here. So it's we will find out shortly. It's been good so far. Fast and furious start. The breakaway not getting more than around 50 seconds. So all the riders have had to push on, and that's probably why we're seeing riders probably around 14 minutes down now. The last group on the road, the Gruppetto.
Matteo Cattaneo is all in for this now. The man who has the stripy tattoo down his left arm. Quick-Step, sorry, let me start that again. Soudal Quick-Step have been well up for this today in a way that they haven't really been on any of the other stages in quite the same way. Right from the off today, multiple numbers from that team trying to get into breakaways, trying to push the pace, get involved in the chase even when the breakaway was away. And now they have really their key player, their best man in this kind of terrain today, up the road.
Yeah, 33 seconds. Well, Jez, sorry there, that gap has gone out very quickly indeed.
Yeah, it's Hajduk who's doing the chasing with Schachmann. Hajduk and Schachmann probably the two strongest left riders left there. Matthew Dinham was in the original breakaway that's come back, and he's gone again, Dinham, so he's got good legs. Let's see if they can contribute anything, because Cattaneo looks very good at this stage. He looks really smooth. I know he's into a little descent there, but he's in a big gear and he's just ripping straight over these little undulations.
Yeah, he is. I think once he gets into his rhythm, he's a very good time trialer, but up and down these little drags and little bumps on the road, he'll be able to push on the uphills, recover slightly, get that big gear rolling, keep the speed rolling. Who's on the front here of that chasing group? Is it a UAE rider? Yes.
Yeah, it does.
A UAE rider. So this is a perfect situation. Control the peloton behind for UAE, just to make sure that no attacks go right at that pace, just quick enough to nullify any attacks coming. But all the points have gone up the road at the minute. If this sticks, which I don't think it will, because we'll get attacked from within this peloton, but you never know. Covey on the front. Number 5 now, Michael Hepburn taking over. They want Simon Yates to try and jump up that 15 seconds if he can.
All the while, where is Hail Bilbao? Not seen quite so much of Bahrain Victorious since they completed the chase and brought back that first breakaway. It's now a much more open race. And this group that Matteo Cattaneo has jumped away from went quite easily under the pressure of Max Schachmann. It was almost as if it was just a perfect time on this final lap. Everyone expecting it to all be about the finale. Schachmann attacked, these guys sneaked across to him, and then Cattanio's just taken his chance to go, and he is absolutely flying.
Yep, he's motoring. Still got about a K and a half of downhill before he starts that long 8K sort of drag up to the line. 3.6% average gradient, with the last K and a half being at 6.5%. So the bottom half of the climb is a lot easier than the top.
Just to remind viewers who's in this chasing group, who are just a few seconds still behind Matteo Cattaneo. Chris Harper, the Australian, for Jayco Alula. Dorian Godon, the Frenchman, for Agi Dessert Citroën team. Nikias Arndt, the German, of Bahrain Victorious. They're all chasing this man right now. Oscar Riesbeek, the Dutchman, for Alpecin de Koenig. Kim Hajduk, the German, riding for Ineos Grenadiers. He's looking back at them. Matthew Dinham, the Australian, for DSM, and then the Frenchman, Ewan Kostu. Two Frenchmen in this chasing group. Coasting and drinking. Is he sitting up, Adam? Oh, we need to look back and see the gap. So, yeah, they must be about to catch him. There we go.
Yeah, if he's backing off this much, he's definitely waiting, recovering a little bit.
Yeah, we are nearly down to Valley Bottom, aren't we? Just descending into Bridgewater. Oh, hello.
Dear.
No, that's such bad timing. Oh my gosh, we were just saying how he looked like he was in good position as well, and I think Luke Platt, I thought for a second there Luke Platt was going to leave him. He's deliberately waited there for Hayter. That's... Well, I don't know what's happened. I wonder we might see a little clip of that, Adam, but that is bad, really bad timing.
Yep, not good timing on a very fast part of the course as well, so that peloton will get away from him quickly. Looked to be a mechanical and not a crash, which is always good news. Yeah, but that's going to be hard for Hayter to get back on now. You'll lose, if you have to stop in the road like that, you'll lose 30 seconds at these speeds very, very quickly, and then more, because you've got to get back up to speed again. He has got Luke Platt with him, he will go all in to bring it back as much as possible until he blows his doors off. But yeah, it's definitely going to chip away at the old block for Ethan Hayter, having to get that gap back.
Electric gears maybe, Adam, perhaps? No. Electric gears? Might be.
No.
Kim Heiduk is on a good day, this young German talent at Ineos Grenadiers, another one of the production line of brilliant, well-sourced and exciting riders to come to that team. Just looking at little gaps being closed and opened. Dorian Godon just closing up to the back wheel of Heiduk. I'm not sure why we're seeing that one again. I think it's the moment at which they caught Mattia Cattaneo. Oh, hello. Right. That's not 35 seconds. No, definitely not. As soon as Cattaneo being caught in a way, that group of breathing, aren't they? They're just catching their breath again. Someone's going to have to attack, and it's going to be Ewan Kostyou, the RKO Samsic man. And Schachmann is determined to be a player today. Schachmann going with him. He knows that if they get caught, that's probably his last chance, Schachmann, of being involved in the pointy end of this race. So he's going to try and go with Kostyou. Yeah.
You see what I mean about being in a breakaway on this circuit, even with a large breakaway with Cattaneo going up the road, Schachmann within it. It's a very strong breakaway, but that gap has come down quite a lot more than we thought it was. It's still saying around 18 seconds, but it looks a lot closer than that to me. We just got a sight of him around that corner, but this course, as we said, there's enough road in the middle of it. It's fast, but there's enough road in the middle. If you sit up, you will lose a lot of time quickly compared to a chasing group, and there is a very large chasing group. Jonas Rutsch now going on the attack.
These are the final 10 kilometres of this, the final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under, with me, Jez Cox and Adam Blythe. We have a dangling group of some 7 or 8 riders who've been clear, and now we're watching Jonas Rutsch. This is the start of the final climb. They've actually made their way into the dip, and they're now taking in what in previous editions in recent years would have been the Wollonga Hill of this race. It's not, though. It's Mount Lofty, and this is the 5th ascent of it, and I think we're about to see yet another attack coming from this group. Mattia Cattaneo's back on the pedals. Jonas Rutsch has attacked this group, and there's an opportunity maybe for some of the key players to jump across this gap. It looks like the purple and white actually of Israel Premier Tech, Adam, who are on the front of the chase now. Am I reading that jersey wrong?
Yep, it's definitely them. I think jumping across to that group, the peloton is going a lot quicker than what that group is. They'll bring them back eventually. They need to wait longer and longer and longer till they get to the top part of this climb, so you can do an effort that is 2 minutes long, all in 2 minutes. But now you're looking at probably a 12-minute effort, and if you're in the wheels here, the speed is high enough so you can get that sit behind the wheel, so you can recover on the wheel. It's a lot harder to be on the front than sitting behind it. They are going at those speeds, so you can get the benefit of drafting. So it'll be very early to go on the attack now if you're still within this bunch. Hayter on the back, waiting to see where Ethan Hayter is, if he's made it back on or not.
This is an impressive ride by Ewan Kostyou. He's only 20 years of age, I should say. The RKO Samsic man. He's been on the attack a couple of times. Look at that long string into the base of Lofty. And those with lofty ambitions are going to have to make their move now, because there's only 15 seconds that separate Pello Bilbao and Simon Yates from Jay Vine and the overall win of this race. Yes, the race has always been decided by very, very slim margins, but those margins are hanging there right now over the next 8.5 kilometres. So's the stage, though, of course. There'll be teams and riders in here who've got not much to play for. Michael Matthews is still in contention. Good spot, Adam, in the blue jersey.
He is in contention, but he's on the front, so he won't be going for the stage win today. He's looking to set a high tempo for Simon Yates, put the pressure on. There he is on the front. I think he's got Luke Durbridge behind him. This is what Jayco wants to do. They want to set such a high tempo, really tire the legs out as much as they can of the other riders, for then Simon Yates to go on the attack late on. I'm going to say about 1.5 K to go and try and get those 15 seconds back. Try and put that distance in between him and Jay Vine. And Bilbao as well, let's not forget.
So, Adam Blythe, who wins the stage and who wins the Tour Down Under, please?
No idea. Not
On the
a clue.
last stage, you give me that? What?
I'm going to go for Jay Vine winning and...
Winning the stage?
No, overall.
Overall, yeah.
And Pale Bilbao winning the stage.
So they'll have to be close together then, no 15-second gap between them. Interesting. There are still so many players. Coquard's still there, isn't he? Wow.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know. It is so open, isn't it? Coquard looked like he was working pretty hard there as well. And there are no doubt names in there that we've not even said today who, with 7.5K to go, are still in with contention of the win. I do agree, though. I think it's going to be something very strange to happen if Jay Vine doesn't take home this win. There he is in that Oka leaders jersey. He's been like a rock since he took it. He's never looked in any kind of difficulty. He's got a brilliant team around him.
Yeah, he's got Mark Hirschi on his wheel, and just behind him as well, the white jersey of Magnus Sheffield. There's Bling's job done for today. Mikel Honore as well.
Those two having a word. One of them will keep his jersey and one of them will lose it, because Honore is definitely not going to be in that jersey, unfortunately, at the finish, despite all the hard work he's done this week to try and build some kind of a lead in it. Jayco Alula setting the pace on the front. Luke Durbridge, of all the men you could have doing it, Turbo Durbo is probably ideal in this scenario.
Trying to look where Bilbao is at the minute. He's got a teammate just on the right-hand side there with Magnus Sheffield just behind him. Coquard is still looking very good up there in about 8th position at the minute.
Yeah, any other... Well, we're still going to... Obviously, we're going to call Brian Coquard a sprinter, but can we see any other fast men back there? I think...
Bettiol might be the only fast man
yeah.
still in there still. Yeah. I've not seen him yet, but he might be the only one there, and if he is there, he's quite far back at the minute. Let's not forget there is a little bit of a plateau. There's Pale Bilbao alongside Simon Yates. Maybe an attack together. Looking down this
group, any pink jerseys? Nathaniel Tesfassion's just gone past, and we know how quick he is.
So 2 pink jerseys to the back. It wasn't Bettiol though, it was, oh no, Jens Kukler and Jonas Rutsch. If Rutsch, that might be a little remains of a group, because Rutsch was on the attack. Just trying to work out, there's a couple, yeah, they are still there.
Leipins is right at the back of this as well. He's the man that pulled his feet out yesterday.
Rob Stannard just in front of him as well.
Yeah, now Rob Stannard's got a good final kick up a rise like this as well. We've really not seen him apply his normal speed-based trade in this race so far, but there's an opportunity. Look at that long string, though. The final 6 kilometres are coming, and it's really all uphill now, all the way to the top of Mount Lofty. Bottles being dispensed with to the fans, hopefully. And Luke Durbridge is still on the front. We've seen Michael Matthews go. I'm presuming Matthews has dropped well off the back of this group now, hasn't he? So, are they setting this pace, though, to see if they can set it up for Simon Yates, Adam? Is that going to be the aim? See if he's going to jump.
I mean, you can see Durbridge there just for that little downhill. You get that the riders behind. I think that's Dries Devenins coming on the front now. Durbridge looks to be on his last legs there, but if you can entice riders into starting to attack more and more now, it's brilliant for Simon Yates, because that's one rider that's attacked another rider to jump across to. I don't think he's got Chris Harper left second wheel now behind Dries Devenins, the Soudal Quick-Step rider. Oh, he's going to be, sorry. Yeah, Soudal Quick-Step, sorry, I was thinking the coding then. Oh, it's getting confusing in this last day.
It's been a long week. It's been a long week of a very little sleep for us, hasn't it? I think Bettiol is in there, you know. I think he's about 3/4 of the way down that group. Could he about to turn this around and bookend the whole race, having won the prologue and then win the final stage? We saw how good he was behind Brion Coquard yesterday. Gosh, it's tight into that one, isn't it? I think he is moving up about halfway through this group, Alberto Bettiol.
Yeah, it's Jens Kukler is definitely in there still. There's one pink rider sort of 2/3 of the way down. That's Jens Kukler, I think. So just keep an eye out for Bettiol. There is one rider up there right towards the front as well in pink.
Now also
Bettiol?
I think Hugo Page is there too. There's 3 riders there from Entomashi Circus Wanty, and the last one of them, the taller figure, who I think has just been detached from his team, pretty certain that is Hugo Page. Now there is a very fast finisher who's in a great position here. So we're inside now the final 5 kilometres of this, the final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under, with Mijes Cox and Adam Blythe. It's all coming down to this. 15 seconds separate the top 3 riders. Jay Vine leading from Simon Yates and Pale Bilbao, both on 15 seconds down. Magnus Sheffield, our best young rider, sits 4th. And it's all back together. We've had 2 main breakaways, one really big one actually with 13 riders in. Eventually this course has proved to be, both at the same time, not quite hard enough to smash things apart, but hard enough to make the riders in the breakaway really suffer as they were reeled back in. And we're now down to a position where we're effectively watching what is a whittled down main peloton contesting the finish for both the stage win and potentially should anything big happen in the next few kilometres, a gap that might open up in the general classification. The Oka leaders jersey of Jay Vine is right there in the middle of your shot. The Australian has looked rock solid all race since he took over the race lead on stage 3 into Campbelltown. Can he hang on? And I guess the next question should be, how well can he do on this stage? I think he's the best climber in the race, but this is a strange old climb that's draggy, long and attritional.
Dennis really started to... I know he's not attacking, but Rowan Dennis has said at the start of the stage, there's one man that can really make it difficult on this sort of terrain, and he's definitely that man. I think he's got that high power, double time trial world champion as well, so if he wants to push on this terrain, he's going to make it hard for anyone to move up, for anyone to attack, but just trying to work out why he's doing it. Who for?
Yeah, good question. Timo Russen is probably their fastest finisher, but he has... Russen's already been in the breakaway today, so I doubt it's him.
.6k to go. Let's not forget the last 1.5k is the hardest part of this climb. So the last 2k, that's where we're expecting to see the attacks come from, if there are any attacks. It's still a large group with only 3.5k to go. Rowan Dennis wants to get, although he's finished, he's done for today.
Yes, I think in fact they're both done, those two as well. Natniel Tesfacion, watch him in the middle there with the red helmet on, of Trek Segafredo, the Eritrean. He's looked really sharp in the sprints and on the climbs this week as well, so let's watch out for him. Well placed for another top 10 finish here, and why not the win? Keep an eye on the Eritrean. Ajit Azer Citroen are moving up as we watch Rowan Dennis, former winner of this race, of course, going out the back. Former leader of this race, of course, as well, having won stage 2 into Victor Harbour. We are now watching yesterday's winner, Brion Coquard, a day after the biggest win of his 10-year pro career, and he's in a good position. He's actually right in front of our race leader, Jay Vine. This is a danger man, definitely, in a way that we might not have been necessarily predicting exactly yesterday. He's a long way up, though, Adam, already.
He's a long way up, yeah, but don't forget, if the attacks start to come from the more climbers, the further he is back, the harder it's going to be. So being this far forward for him is not a bad thing. He can react to things. He's got a little bit of sliding room. So if he was further back, it would be ultimately very hard, a lot harder for him. But Harper really pushing on the pedals now. This has got to be, that's his last turn done.
My goodness, this is a big effort by Cofidis. This is Carvalho. Oh, he's left Coquard open at the front.
Whoa.
And Coquard now battling it out with the race leader, Jay Vine. There's an opportunity here for someone to take this up. Someone's got to take it up. The gaps have opened up behind.
Crash,
no! Just where just at the wrong moment as well. How on earth has that happened there? Such a shame for the riders who were involved in the sharp end of this race. Thankfully, we've not got any of the general classification riders there, or at least I don't think we have. Coquard has dropped back a little bit, but boy, is he working hard there. Yesterday's winner, the Cofidis man.
Just trying to look. Oh, there's Simon Yates just there behind Coquard. Coquard's losing the wheel now, so Simon Yates, this is good for him. He's got to make an acceleration, and everyone's got to make that acceleration with him. Just coming onto the wheel of Ben O'Connor. He's gritting his teeth there. Brian Coquard still hanging on.
This is George Bennett leading for our race leader. Yates!
There
Yates is on the attack, and Connor's going with him. Here we go. Simon Yates has attacked. Ben O'Connor, the Australian, has gone with him, and this is a big opportunity for the British rider now to try and distance the ochre jersey, but he is ready for it. Jay Vine on. Here we go, 3 going clear. Once again, Jay Vine looks utterly impenetrable in terms of these attacks, but Yates, has he got another gear, and what has Ben O'Connor get left? Ben O'Connor looks like he's working the hardest in the middle. Jay Vine looks ice cold. Can Yates lift it one more time?
Yates is doing a brilliant ride here, not sat down yet, not sat in the saddle, and this won't be an explosive attack. This will be one that he holds on to this high power. Watch Ben O'Connor's face. His teeth are going to be hurting. He's gritting him that hard sitting on the wheel. He finally sits down, Yates, but more importantly, where is Peo Bilbao? If not anything at the minute, Simon Yates has secured his second place. He's still got to get rid of Vine there. Sorry, I was getting my J's mixed up, but he's doing all the work on the front of the minute. No doubt another kick going to come from Simon Yates in a minute.
We are coming into the final kilometre. We could really do with zooming out to see the gap behind, and it's quite big. It is quite big. Jay Vine's been looking back. There's going to be an opportunity for one of these 3 to take the stage win on top of Mount Lofty, and how appropriate would it be if it's the race leader, Jay Vine? He's not won a stage yet this race, despite the fact that he's looked the best man on paper to take the general classification. No one would argue with that. That's the front end of the chase group. You're right. Where is Peo Bilbao? He's watching his second place go away with him. Second wheel he is. Second wheel.
Yeah, he had Michael Storer in front of him from Francis Jageur. You can just see now, just Simon looking around, see the current situation. He just needs to try and save as much as he can to try and be in with a shot of winning the stage. Don't forget, it does drop down here slightly, then drags up that long straight. Last kilometre, when they get to around 300 metres to go, it does drop down ever so slightly. And the man that's in the prime position at the minute is Jay Vine. If he lays off the back a little bit, comes over the top with a little bit of speed and use that descent, catches the guys off guard, he'll be in with a good chance of not only winning this race all, but 5 days as well.
On 2 occasions, Jay Vine has come to the line ready to take a stage win, but has prioritised the general classification. Yates is going again. Simon Yates goes one more time on the drops. It's such a familiar attacking style. We've seen him use so many times. He's using this dig and really putting the hurt on Ben O'Connor, but Jay Vine, for the first time in this race, we can see him gritting the teeth and working hard, but he is level with Yates right now. Opportunity for a counter-attack, and here he goes. Ben O'Connor, the Australian, trying to see if he can distance his countryman, but Jay Vine is level to everything that's being thrown at him right now. Yates slotting in on the wheel. They can't mess around too much. Yates knows it too. He's looking back. If Ben O'Connor just presses on a bit here, we're back into the ramp to the finish. We are so close now, and they're also close to being swamped. They've got to be careful, Adam, surely.
Yep, they've got to be careful there. Ben O'Connor still pushing on. He wanted to go on the attack there, but I think getting on the front, a podium spot on the final day would be great for him in terms of the stage. Jay Vine goes now just before that downhill, but they're coming close to him.
Has Simon Yates got anything left? Jay Vine's open for the line, but taking the stage win at the end would be appropriate, wouldn't it? But here comes Yates. Simon Yates is up alongside him. He's not going to be beaten second again. No! He gets the stage win. Simon Yates takes the stage win, and Jay Vine has won only the 4th race of his professional career, and it's a World Tour stage race. Jay Vine is going to win the Santos Tour Down Under, and Yates at last gets that win he'd been hinting at all week.
Exceptional time in there from Yates. You saw Jay Vine just kick over the top of that start to drop down. Absolutely nailed after that, following one of the best climbers in the world there, Simon Yates. But Jay Vine, I mean, you could see how much he wanted that stage straight on O'Connor's wheel when he attacked. He almost accelerated too hard and rode into the back of him. Simon Yates delivering that finish, using the downhill, using the slipstream, and then just in the last 20-25 metres, Simon just coming past with that last little bit of speed as it started to kick up again. What a final. So you need the corkscrew, Jez.
Exactly. Corkscrew, never heard of it. What a brilliant finale. Well, as always, Adam, as it is 9 times out of 10, it's down to the riders, isn't it? That's the That's the great canvas on which they paint our picture, but they are the artists today in the South Australian sunshine, where the heat has crept above 31 degrees. And I think for the first time this week, we've seen a smile on Simon Yates' face, because he's got it. And it was, that hand in the air was a little bit of a moment of relief, I think, on the line, that he's made a really tough week count. He's got, hang on, let's work this out. He's got a bonus there, right, as well, won't he? But it won't have helped.
Won't have helped Jay Vine being in second.
Yeah. 10-second bonus.
But Jay Vine there, you got to take your hat off to him. First race of the year, well, second race of the year. He won the Australian Nationals, has come into this with big ambition, and he has delivered. Didn't put a foot wrong all race, was able to follow every mood, had a great team around him, and just delivered on all fronts. Two second places in the race as well, let's not forget. Second behind Rowan Dennis there on stage 2. And once again, second on the final stage up at Mount Lofty, and taking the overall victory as well.
Yeah, that's the first time today that obviously he was going for the general classification, but that's the first time I think we've seen him decisively go for the stage, because on the other 2 occasions when he's been within a shout, it's been about maintaining the gap and actually leading out. Although he was closing up on Rowan Dennis, wasn't he? He was getting close to Rowan Dennis. There's the side shot. And Simon Yates with just enough energy to get one hand in the air, the pointed finger. Came to make a point, and he made it on the last stage. There's something quite nice about that. I'm not saying that necessarily just because he's a British rider. Actually, he did deserve that this week after everything he'd put into it. And he was devastated, wasn't he? He really was devastated not to get the win when Pello Bilbao beat him, because he just kind of ran out of gears, couldn't he? I think we're about to go to an interview with our race winner overall, Jay Vine. And let's see how it's sinking in. It's going to be still a new feeling for him, this. Not least winning his first stage race.
We've spoken about the Vine show over the last few years. This is the Vine show.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible to be standing here wearing this jersey, like, and the way we rode that was first class. Like, the guys, incredible. Marco, in the car, always calm, always collected, giving us clear instructions. And then this one behind the scenes, really helping me out, so, yeah.
Bree, who was more nervous in the last kilometre, you or him?
I have to say 100% me, I think. The stomach was doing a few turns. Jay's mum wasn't much better either. I think her stomach was turning too. So, yeah, pretty nervous. But when I saw you following those attacks, I was like, you have this, honey. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Any moments where you had doubt today?
Yeah, it was pretty hectic at the start. Really trying to let the brake go, let it go. And then, we had guys trying to ride it back, obviously. This is the last chance to do anything, so we really had to be on our toes all day, and that's why we've got such great people around us, and the team is just incredible. Full credit. That's why I keep looking back, trying to find them, because they deserve this jersey as much as I do.
The season's only just getting started, but do you let your hair down just a little tonight?
Well, I only like 2 drinks, so maybe not, but if there's Kilkenny at the restaurant we go to, absolutely.
Enjoy the moment.
Not sponsored.
Let me remind fans at home, he is building up to the Giro d'Italia, where he is slated as being, at least at the moment anyway, joint team leader with João Almeida, or at least in a supporting role to João Almeida. Though I know it's January, it's very, very early, but it could be a rather interesting spring for the Australian. Good ride by Ben O'Connor, Adam, wasn't it? Really good ride.
Yep, very good ride indeed. He's had a quiet week with a bit of mishap, so to see him right up there on a stage that definitely does suit him, on a climb that does suit him, he's done brilliant, yeah.
Hey, Lofty was more than hard enough in the end, wasn't it? It's given us the sort out we needed.
Tell you what, well done, Stuart O'Grady.
Yeah, nice to finish in kind of classic Adelaide Hills countryside as well, because I guess you could finish this race with a sprint finish alongside the beach. But this is kind of iconic Tour Down Under country, this. Great timing there by Yates. Good turn of speed that we know he's got when he's got enough gears to get on top of it, I suppose. And just see a slow-mo of Jay Vine just looking across, knowing that he's got that ochre jersey in his wardrobe for good.
Loves a Kilkenny as well, similar to Guinness.
Is it? It's a stout, is it?
Yeah, I wonder what the other one is.
I do know it. Yeah, it is. It's Irish, isn't it? I presume. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is, though, isn't it?
The other one's a Jaeger bomb.
Ah, might be tonight. There we go. The stage result. Oh, Ben O'Connor given a 2-second gap. Antonio Tiberi, it was, of Trek Segafredo, who was back there. Sorry, I didn't give him a name shout. Actually, he was there. I've not mentioned him too much this week, the talented young Italian. Once again, Bistrom was there as well for Intermarché Circus Wanty, the Norwegian. It's been very consistent this week, Sven-Erik Bistrom. Jai Hindley was there, Peo Bilbao just behind him. Aliotti, Sheffield and Schmid made up the top 10. So riders who've been high up on GC anyway. We'll wait to see the final general classification confirmed in just a moment. I'm sure it'll come up on our screens. Adam, you spot anything interesting in there?
Obviously, Yates has taken second place, Bilbao third, Sheffield and Schmidt have stayed in the same places, and Hayter, I'm not sure he's finished, but might have lost out.
There we go. So 11 seconds with the time that's been made up by Simon Yates there with those bonuses. 27 seconds back, Peo Bilbao. Quite neat this. 57, Magnus Sheffield now still in fourth, and a best young rider, Mauro Schmid, I think has moved up there actually, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check that in a minute. Ben O'Connor moves up to sixth place as well as the second best Aussie behind our leader, Jay Vine, of course, and Sven-Erik Bistrom through quiet, consistent riding in seventh. Tiberi has also moved up a couple of places, I think, to eighth. Gorka Izagirre, the second best Spaniard behind Peo Bilbao in ninth. And Brion Coquard has finished this race in the top 10. Proof once again that the general classification of the Santos Tour Down Under does suit the sprinty guys,
Simon,
even the lightweight
play your
ones.
cards close to your chest, but we heard a fair bit of emotion from you when you went across the line then.
Yeah, I mean, we came here to Down Under with a lot of ambition. I mean, we're the only Aussie team here, so of course I'm a Pom, but I'm back for the Aussies. So no, really, we put a lot into it, and of course we didn't walk away with the overall, but we could be really happy with the stage there.
And to have a guy like Michael Matthews doing so much work at the bottom of the climb, that full team commitment must be rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, the team have been fantastic all week, not just for me, but earlier before Blink had his bad luck, doing all the intermediates, all the sprints. Like I said, we put a lot into this race, and we can walk away now because we've got something for all our work.
And your thoughts on second overall?
I think that's the best I could do. I mean, the only thing I could change was the prologue there in the rain. I mean, a lot of guys also got caught up in that as well. So I did the best I could there, and from there we just tried to take the race as it came. And today was our last chance, so we took it.
And a few words on the performance of Jay Vine winning the race.
Yeah, obviously he's a massive talent. I'm sure the home crowd will be happy with an Aussie winner, and I'm sure that's not the last of we'll see of him.
Congratulations on the stage.
Thank you.
It's fascinating actually now looking back to Tuesday's prologue in the rain. When you look at the gaps between the riders in the top 10, how important that prologue was and how difficult it's been to gain time across the course of this week too. Nice to hear Simon Yates mentioning the efforts made by Michael Matthews as well to work for him. Great to see the blue jersey leader doing that. We're looking back across the stage now. We had a very, very long rollout from the Eastern District of Adelaide, right next to the city centre itself, actually, as they rode up the freeway to get to the Devil's Elbow. Mikel Honoré looking very active early on. I thought, right, he is definitely up to defending this Mountains jersey. It didn't work out that way, unfortunately, and it looks like he's lost it too. We'll have that jersey confirmation made for you shortly. As we got onto the course proper, we had the openings of an early breakaway in the sunshine alongside the vines as we got higher and higher up into koala country. Not that they chose to show themselves. It was Michael Matthews taking maximum points and some bonus seconds, but points in that blue jersey competition for the Zip Track sprints at our first sprint point in Uradla. Very comfortable lead for Bling Matthews there. And then we had this big group form. A group of 13 riders. Marco Haller doing lots of long, hard turns. And Victor Lefay at the start of a very busy day for him. But this gap was never more than 45 seconds, something like that. Johan Jacobs was leading to the top of the first climb of Mount Lofty. He was the first one through, taking maximum points there. Of course, it was irrelevant in the mountains classification. They were really just thinking about trying to keep themselves clear that breakaway. Michael Hepburn it was, leading through the next sprint point in Uredla. Again, just rolling through as part of the breakaway, the Jayco Alula rider. Probably convenient that he took them, bearing in mind that his team leader Michael Matthews is holding the blue jersey. We then saw Caleb Ewan going out the back and still had the breakaway clear. But behind, a general classification boil-up was happening at the front of the pelotons. We watched Chris Froome making his way off the back of the field. And the general classification contenders were moving a little bit closer to the front as the catch was just about to happen. Luke Plapp took the final ascent of Mount Lofty, although it's, of course, ever so slightly downhill by the time you get to it there, but that was the top of the final King of the Mountains point of the day. He's moved right up in the mountains classification, so I'll actually check in a minute where he was. This was then the run into the finish, the final attack from Simon Yates. Big dig, powerful dig, and quite a big gear as well, actually, taking with him Ben O'Connor and the race leader, Jay Vine. And this was to be how the finale would be played out. Jay Vine opened up the sprint, again choosing to sprint down the middle of the road, only just not really closing the gap, kind of leaving himself open for a run from Simon Yates. Yates coming off the wheel and having just enough this time in a way that he didn't when he was sprinting against Peo Bilbao. Jay Vine crossing the line with a smile on his face because he knows he's won his first stage race of his pro career. And Simon Yates, bit of a celebration of kind of what he'd been waiting for this week. There we go.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Do you think this puts any more pressure on Jay Vine at the beginning of the year? Expectations rising a little bit? I keep banging on about the Giro d'Italia. I should stop doing that because, well, he's still got a lot of development still yet to come, I'm certain, Adam. But it's certainly a signal at the beginning of the year, isn't it? Sorry, but we'll come back to that. This is the Zip Track Sprint Jersey final classification. Michael Matthews winning. Quite close, though, between him and Simon Yates. Jay Vine, Caleb Ewan having dropped down 2 places there today. And then those 3 Frenchmen, Penouet, Page and Coquard, who we thought was so close to a potential double stage win today. Nice to see Phil Bauhaus doing work for his team as well. Sorry, Adam. Do you know, I've forgotten what I was saying as well. Something to do with the finale. Yeah. Let's hear from Michael Matthews, shall we? I've got a nasty feeling this is going to be the 1 in 3 interviews that we can't hear. Apologies, folks at home. We're not getting all the interviews. There seems to be one every day that we don't get, and it's going to be Bling Matthews this time. Gosh, he's had a hard week, right the way from the prologue through to this. He's been involved in every single stage as well. Do you know, Adam, what's nice to see throughout, I'm thinking of Ben O'Connor, I'm thinking obviously of Jay Vine, but Michael Matthews, and you'll get this having ridden in the Tour of Britain, just how really important this race is. I know it's a World Tour race, but just how important it is to the Aussies in front of a home crowd when they're about to depart and go back to mainland Europe for the rest of their racing during most of the rest of the season. I think we've got a slight problem with sound here. Adam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think you were not going out there. What was your...
Sorry, apologies.
What was your... go on, let me run that to you again. Very important to the Australians, isn't it?
Yes.
There we go. Thank you very much.
It is. I think it's nice for the Australians as well to have a home winner win their one and only World Tour race, and it's a brilliant race, and it's fantastic to have it back.
Peo, third
let's listen to Peo Bilbao.
What was the strategy throughout the day, and particularly the last few kilometres?
Yeah, we were believing that also today was possible to win the stage, and maybe you never know, no? Winning the stage could be also a possibility, and another one was to fight for the overall. But in the second last climb, I felt like my legs were not super. I I tell to the guys that we were continuing like in the same way, but maybe if they could find another way to go for the stage was okay for me. Nicky has tried to go in a small group, and in the end I just did the last climb, thinking on the podium and trying to pull in the back group just to ensure the third place, because I couldn't go for more really.
Okay, so you made the podium this year. Can we have you back next year to try and get the top step?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I really enjoy this race. I think the race organizers made super interesting parkour, short stages, great show, different for everybody, small TT, for climbers, for punchy riders, for sprinters, a bit of wind, was everything. No, I think it's difficult to ask more to a race just in 6 stages. So yeah, it's a nice race. Maybe next year I come back.
We look forward to seeing you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pello Bilbao will, like most of these riders, be jumping on that plane that Adam was talking about tomorrow, making his way to the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, which is 1 week today, the next round of the Men's World Tour. Did you ride that, Adam? Do you know, I think when it started, the Cadel Evans race?
Yeah, I did. I only did it once in 2019. Great race. Absolutely brilliant. Different change of scenery as well up near Melbourne. Yeah, it's lovely.
I'm not sure whether these are shots which we're seeing live or whether they're in the can, so to say, but I think that's a Mummy Roo chasing. No, these are looking back. Mummy Roo chasing the Joey through the undergrowth there alongside the riders today. Lot of fans out of the roadside today, which is nice to see, in the Adelaide Hills, making their way up there bright and early in order to catch the racing. Of course, that's one of the joys of the multi-lap, being able to see the race again and again. What was it I claimed to see? Oh, no, these are looking back across the whole week, because there's the Rocking Horse. I wonder why it was looking a bit grey and dark. This was Rocking Horse was stage 2. Well, actually, it might have been stage 1 in the Barossa. I can't remember now. We're also looking back to the women's race as well, by the looks of it, which is nice to see. Shots from the Santos Tour Down Under for the women. Also, for the first time, the opening round of the Women's World Tour as well. If you haven't seen clips of the women's race and you haven't followed it, you can catch it all back, of course, on the GCN app. It was quite a bit hotter for the women. It really cooled down. In a way, it was the shower in Adelaide, the long shower in Adelaide during the prologue, that signalled the significant cooling of the temperature. We were down to about very low 20s, which for this time of year in Australia, particularly in South Australia, is very cool. This is from stage 1 in the Barossa, most northerly of the stages. Just a few nice scenic shots that we may have been, well, no, I was probably talking over as we were looking at them. One thing I did think, Adam, I don't know what you feel about this, about this year's race, is it wasn't overly beachy. We didn't see loads of beaches. We did yesterday, but they were big, wide open, expansive beaches. I felt we could have had a few more roads that kissed the beach in certain places. Do you know what I mean? Being where we are.
I do know what you mean, yeah. It's beaches are lovely. Very nice. I can see why you'd want to see them. But the route was beautiful. I think Stuart O'Grady did a great job alongside the organisers designing this route. It's been tight once again, as it always is, with the bonus seconds this race, but with some sort of the clear favourites coming out on top as such, with who we thought might be there or thereabouts behind, trying to grab hold of those bonus seconds as well.
That'll be a magpie right there. These are small dogs on the beach. We'll roll with that. Yes, actually it's nice to be seeing a little bit more of the beach now as well, because by the time this was yesterday, by the looks of it, going south. That's the Loch Ness Monster. What on earth is that? Oh, right. Don't remember seeing that. That is... are we going with emu? Yeah, emu. It's got to be an emu, isn't it?
It's definitely, that's a windsurfer. As you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still watching, it is 4:30 AM here in the UK. But we've loved it. We've loved every minute of it. I have. It's been great to kick off my season with the first World Tour race of the season. Yeah. We've had some fantastic racing to talk over.
No, Adam, it's been good to have you with me. What did I call those animals yesterday? They are
lemurs. You
lemurs.
Yeah, the little.
It's the long neck lemur. The long neck lemur. Toads. Toads? Oh no, that's koalas.
Koala. Oh my God.
Hey, listen. As we said, and I did say this at the beginning of the week. Adam and I, and certainly I know as I'm significantly older as Adam, as he keeps reminding me, it's been a brilliant week of racing. It's been good to be on the mic with you, having ridden it three times. But we are rather sleep deprived at this point. As Adam said, it is 28 minutes past 4 in the morning here in England. It'll be all sorts of different times where everyone else is watching around the world. I know the Americans and Canadians have had this lightly this week. It's been a nice bit of early evening viewing for them. So if that's you back there and you've been with us live every day, thank you for your company. There's the best young riders jersey confirmed, and we'll see him on the podium, I suspect, in just a moment. Magnus Sheffield, the 20-year-old Ineos Grenadier. 16 hours and 8 minutes of racing, and he finishes 10 seconds ahead of Antonio Tiberi, who made it a little bit closer on the final stage. Great week for Hugo Page, both sprinting and in the general classification. And Ruben Thompson has moved up as well, the Kiwi, who was pretty active today. He's moved up a few places, I think, if I'm not mistaken. 1 minute and 32 down, though, on Sheffield, who's looked very consistent and nicely quiet when on the bike the last few days. Here he is.
Here's another interview we can't hear.
Sorry, folks, this is not good, is it? Do apologise.
How's your lip reading? Well, no, I'm not going to ask you how your lip reading is. You thought a llama was a lemur and a koala was a toad.
I tell you, I bet they got some nasty furry toads in this part of South Australia. Could have been a toad. It was not, you know what I mean? It's sort of toad-like, just bad artistry.
Koalas and toads, yeah, I can see the similarities.
Yeah. Well, we haven't even seen a koala yet, so how do you know?
That is very true.
Just looking to see whether Sheffield and all of his teammates are doing the Cadel Evans race next weekend. I'm presuming so. I'll just check his programme. Also keen to see what his classics build-up is like. Well, actually, he's certainly down to be riding Omloop Het Nieuwsblad and Kuurne Brussels Kuurne, so opening weekend of the European Classics season. I think he's down to ride Strade Bianche as well, and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. That should be fascinating. As is the future direction of this 20-year-old's career, I guess, as well, Adam. I mean, right now, of course, we would expect him to be a big classic star, but it'd be fascinating to see how his stage racing develops over the coming years.
Yeah, the only way is up, and they are very high up indeed.
Yeah, we need to zoom out, really.
There, fantastic job, but wow, they are.
For the 2023
so we're going to kind of hand over to David Mackenzie to do the final stage presentations now.
Schwalbe Stage 5. I'm sure you'll all agree, what a great spot for a finale. Helping us on stage today with the presentations will be Kai, Braden, William and Tristan, and who are young and up-and-coming South Australian cyclists, and it's been great to have them helping us out all week. Now please welcome on stage Lisa Howard, the Marketing and Sponsorship Manager for Schwalbe Australia. Great to have you with us. And from the Adelaide Hills Council, Mayor Jan Claire Wisdom, to present the Schwalbe Stage 5 winner. Well, this man, he's already done a fair amount in his career. He's a Grand Tour winner. He's an Englishman. He rides for the Australian World Tour team, Jayco AlUla, Simon Yates.
Well, he did mention that he was riding for the Aussies this week. I think he knows his place. Key player in that team, of course. Big signing. And he seems happy there too. Committed team of riders behind him this week, including Michael Matthews.
A few more gifts, Simon. Put your hands together once again for Simon Yates, ladies and gentlemen, your Schwalbe Stage 5 winner. What a way to finish off. Congratulations, Simon. Well done. Job done for Jayco AlUla today. Now, before we announce the winner of the 2023 Santos Tour Down Under, please put your hands together for the Santos CEO and Managing Director, Kevin Gallagher, and the Honourable Peter Malinauskas, the Premier of South Australia, who will present our overall winner with the Santos Oka Leaders jersey after the prologue and 5 great days of racing. The story just keeps getting better for this man. Just when you think, well, can it get any better? Today he delivered. He took the lead 2 days ago. He rides for UAE Team Emirates. It is Jay Vine.
Well, there's a well-received man on the podium.
Let's get these gifts to Jay, shall
I think
we?
going into this week, the fans had been really excited about welcoming Jai Hindley back after his incredible Giro stage win last year, and there's still been a lot around him this week, but, well, they also have another stage racing star now, and this may be his first stage race victory.
One big almighty roar, ladies and gentlemen, for your 2023 winner, the Team UAE Emirates, Jay Vine.
Such is his level, dare I say it, at times he's made it look easy.
Brilliant stuff.
And that's what elite sport's all about, of course.
Jay. Thank
It's
you, Premier,
anything
and
but.
Kevin.
An awful lot of work
We'll
gone
get
into that.
Jay
The plan that he
Vine back
hatched
shortly
with his
for
wife, who we
a
saw
few
him with
words.
after the finish there, about
Now
making it to the World Tour.
Tanya Denver Award.
Well, he's not
for the
just
best
made it,
South
he's
Australian rider
making
in
it.
the general classification. This really is a great award, and I'm glad it is continued here in this great race. Please welcome Lewis Denver, the son of the late Tanya Denver, and a cycling journalist. Good stuff. I'm glad you're on board. And ladies and gentlemen, he's won this before because he's won this overall race before. He rides for Jumbo Visma. He's a South Australian native, Rowan Dennis.
There's a nice tribute.
Rowan's brought some helpers. One more gift, Rowan.
Winner of stage 2, of course, into Victor Harbour, and the
Put your
leader of
hands
the race
together
after
once
that
more,
point
ladies
too.
and gentlemen, Rowan Dennis. The Tanya Denver Award for the best South Australian. Congratulations, Rowan. Thank you, Lewis. I think the kids want to stay out here, Rowan.
Adelaide
I need a
man,
couple of
Rowan
helpers.
Dennis, of course, was really keen to do a good ride in that
Fantastic.
prologue.
Great to have
Also,
Rowan back. And what about that stage win?
having
into
to be
Victor Harbour
careful
as
in the
well?
rain.
He's had a great race. Now to present the Yamaha Most Competitive Rider. Please welcome Matthew Ferry from Yamaha Australia. And a big thank you to Yamaha. Thank you, Matthew, for the support this week. And this man, he comes all the way from Italy. He rides for Soudal Quickstep. He went on a late attack today. It is Mattia Cattaneo.
he looked in great form, Cattaneo. Such a valuable rider to
Congratulations,
Soudal
Mattia.
Quickstep.
Great ride today for Soudal Quickstep, your Yamaha Most Competitive Ride of the day. And thank you, Matthew, and again, thank you to Yamaha.
That
for
conversation
their support.
Adam and I have been having all week about
Now,
what
please
it's called.
welcome
He's just
on
called
the
it the
stage
most
from
competitive
Zwift.
rider.
Great to see a familiar face up here, former pro himself, Wes Salzberger, to present the Zwift Young Rider Jersey Award. And this gentleman, I tell you what, he didn't have it all smooth sailing. I think he hit the deck at least once. He had a few stitches in, but he got back up and he held firm with this jersey. He rides for Ineos Grenadiers, Magnus Sheffield.
Very calm, assured, measured ride by the 20-year-old. Not just the way he rides, but the way he speaks when he's been interviewed this week.
Well done to Magnus. And let's get him the plate as the winner of the Zwift Young Rider. Collect the plate too, Magnus. Your best young rider, ladies and gentlemen, for 2023, brought to you by Zwift.
I had the great pleasure of commentating on his first pro win, actually, when he won that stage of the Ruta del Sol from the breakaway. Solo, of course.
They are the flower experts and the people behind the beautiful bouquets being presented to our athletes here today. So big thank you to them. Now to continue the presentations, I'd like to welcome onto stage. They've been supporters for many years now at the Santos Tour Down Under. Tony DeMeyer, the Executive Director for Zip Track, to present the Zip Track Sprint jersey. That beautiful blue jersey, and it goes with the colours of this team. He rides for Jake Alula.
This is going to be a popular winner.
He is your winner of the Zip Track, Michael Matthews.
Third on stage one, of course, in Tanunda, behind Thor Bauhaus and Caleb Ewan. But as always, so good at hoovering up the points out there on course.
For Michael as well. The blue plate. Perfect. Perfect colour coordination. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Your Zip Track overall winner, Michael Matthews for Jaco Alula. Well done, Michael.
Green jersey winner, of course, at the Tour de France back in 2017.
Now to present the FX King of the Mountains jersey and overall winner. Please welcome Dean Brogan from FX Adelaide. He's the FX Adelaide branch manager. Great to have you back with us, Dean. And I tell you what, this is one of the tightest battles we've seen in this competition, and it all came down to the final FX King of the Mountains points today. He didn't collect any points today, but it didn't matter. He had a 1-point advantage at the start of the day, and that's what he ends with. For EF Education first, easy post, Miguel Honore.
Wowzer. By the skin of his teeth, he's hung on to it. I thought he was going to need to be careful at that last King of the Mountains points. Maybe he knew exactly what was going on. The Dane, Miguel Honore, has won that very light green and white polka dot jersey.
One more prize, Miguel Honore, ladies and gentlemen, your FX King of the Mountains winner for 2023.
Well, they've had a good week. EF Education Easy Post. Starting off with the Oka jersey, of course, and Bettiol's win.
Fantastic. Celebrated his birthday a couple of days ago as well, so it's been a good week out for Miguel here. Now to present the Wilson Parking winning team, please welcome Paul Sidwell, the Chief Information Officer for Wilson Parking, to present the winning team.
We've barely mentioned team classification so far. What do you reckon?
For this team, doesn't it? Because not only have they won the overall title for the individual, they're now the winning team. It is UAE Team Emirates, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome them out.
Well, with the strength in their ranks.
George Bennett, Mark Hershey, Sean Bucks, Alessandro Covi, Michael Vink, and Finn Fisher-Black. And the Director Sport If, Marco Macarto. Well done to the Director Sport If. Your Wilson Parking winning team.
I don't know where he's gone, but Mark Hershey's not there.
Forward, gentlemen, for the cameras. Your winning team, Wilson Parking for 2023. Well done to UAE Team Emirates, and thank you, Paul, and Wilson Parking once again, another long-term supporter of the Santos Tour Down Under. Now to present third overall in the general classification. General classification. I've spoken a lot of words this week. I'm just starting to trip up. Please welcome Emma Terry, the CEO of the South Australian Tourism Commission. Great to have you with us, Emma, and a big thank you of course, to the South Australian Tourism Commission for their support at this great event. Well, this man, he delivered a stage win for his team, one of 2 stage wins. He did it into Campbelltown. He's a class rider. He's won on the biggest stage. He rides for one of the biggest teams. For Bahrain, victorious, 3rd overall, Pello Bilbao.
So we're going to put together our final podium, starting with Pello Bilbao.
Hold up the plate, Pello. Pello Bilbao, ladies and gentlemen.
Quite how they're going to get all these big plates back in their hand luggage. Don't think that's going in there.
Thank you, Emma. Now to present 2nd overall in the general classification, I'd like to welcome Tom Van Dam, the president of the UCI Pro Cycling Council, onto stage. In 2nd overall, well, there's no surprises now. He delivered right here, didn't he? The stage win for his team. For Jake Alula, it is Simon Yates.
"30 years of age now, Simon Yates, and such a diverse winning pedigree too. Winner of the Vuelta a España, of course, in 2018.
Australia's own World Tour team, the stage win, zip track, and 2nd overall. Congratulations to you, Simon. Thank you, Tom, and thank you to the UCI. Now, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't be presentations if we don't welcome back to the stage our winner, shall we? Let's have a few words to the winner of the 2023 Santos Tour Down Under, Jay Vine. Congratulations, Jay. A fair bit of chaos going in the background there, but now you've done it. Now you can breathe a sigh of relief. What was it like out there today? I mean, I talked about it yesterday being potentially more stressful for you on those flat roads, and today was more your happy place when the road went up. Is that what it felt like?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty tough out there today. I mean, everyone probably saw it on TV, but it was pretty chaotic for the first 2 laps, and then we sort of settled into our rhythm. Boys doing the job of keeping me safe, and then the brake got really close and then got caught on the last 2 climbs, and it was just try and stay good position, and the boys did an amazing job.
They did do an amazing job, and you can see them sort of hovering around you all day, protecting you, and the likes of George Bennett, Mark Hershey. Not a bad way to start the year, is it? New team for you, new colours and a win. This is pretty good. It doesn't get much better.
No, not at all. I think it's pretty special to join a new team and already deliver a win, but also it's the first for the team to win Down Under. It's pretty special. It's also my first World Tour GC in my own country. It's incredible.
Well, you've sort of led me in. You've almost answered my last question, and it was going to be, we talked about it a couple of days ago, and you mentioned it. You said, I'm almost dreaming. I can't believe if you had have said this a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought I'd be standing right here. This is pretty special, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the last guy to win this event, Richie Port, it's a bit of an idol of mine. So to be standing here, 2 years after he stood here was, it's pretty special and something I'll remember for the rest of my career.
Still plenty more to come. Jay Vine, put your hands together. Your 2023 winner of the Santos Tour Down Under. Congratulations, Jay.
Quite a start to the season.
We'd like to thank Interflora and the Jam Factory for the beautiful bouquets and trophies that our winners received today. And with that, there's only really one thing left to do, ladies and gentlemen, for today, and that is to welcome back to the stage our overall jersey winners for the 2023 Santos Tour Down Under. So I'd like to welcome back to the stage the Zwift Young Rider winner, Magnus Sheffield from Ineos Grenadiers, the Zip Track Sprint winner, Michael Matthews from Jayco Alula, the FX King of the Mountains winner, Miguel Honore, EF Education Easy Post, And of course, let's get him back here. Our Santos Oka leader winner, Jay Vine.
Oh, he's caught them off guard there as well. Got him there before being asked. There we go. Well, the champagne's been cracked open in South Australia. All that remains is for me to say a big thank you to those of you who've been with us, particularly those of you who've been with us all through this week, through the 6 days, the 5 road stages and the prologue. Big thank you to all of the team in the production here, Anton, and to Adam Blythe as well, my co-commentator as well. Been a fantastic start to the men's UCI World Tour, and great, of course, to be taking in beautiful sunny beaches and vineyards in South Australia. That, ladies and gentlemen, has been the 23rd edition of the Santos Tour Down Under with me, Jez Cox, alongside Adam Blythe. And it's been so nice to have your company along the way. Thanks very much, and until the next time, bye-bye.